from CB4's office. I'm Dale Corvino. I'm the co-chair of Transportation Planning, along with Christine Berthet, my fellow co-chair. And we have a pretty packed agenda tonight with a number of presentations, so I want to jump right in. And yes, this meeting is being run via Zoom per state requirements, and it's being recorded. Okay. First up, we have a bus permit application for a curbside bus stop from Rox Xpress. And this is at the location of 33rd Street and 11th Avenue and Hudson Boulevard, which is co-located with an existing bus stop permit for a company called Jet. Who are the good people of Rox who will be presenting? Is that you, Patrick?
Hi, good evening, everyone. Thank you, Chair Corvino. My name is Patrick Lespinas. Thank you for providing Rox with the opportunity to speak with you this evening about our intercity bus stop permit application. With us, we have Jeff McWaters, founder and CEO, Camelia Hill, CFO, and Robert Houchins, chief driver. Mr. McWaters will provide a very brief overview of the company and our efforts, after which we'll be happy to take your questions. Jeff McWaters.
Thank you very much, Chair. And thank you very much, committee. It's an honor to be able to present to you guys. And we look forward to the opportunity to meet you someday, perhaps right on the street there as the Rox is approaching our stop. I think we're going to have some slides that that Marcus and the team is going to show. We do call ourselves Rox Rapid Overland Express, based in Virginia Beach, Virginia. We've been operating for 3 years, but operating on and off, as many of you have and as many companies have the last 3 years. We call it Travel Reimagined. We are not your typical bus or motor coach company. We have just 22 seats plus a 23rd ADA lift seat. We have an attendant, like a flight attendant. We have catered meals, and you can see, kind of follow along the slide there. The chairs are laid back, very comfortable with leg rest. We have a very boosted Wi-Fi system that multiple SIM cards so people can stream or watch movies. We call it, you can plug in or you can unplug. We have run several hundred routes. I've kind of lost track of them, primarily between Virginia Beach and Washington, D.C., as well as Virginia Beach and Charlottesville, Virginia. We also have a charter side to our company, but it's not the primary aspects of the company. Our clientele is business professionals and leisure travelers, and leisure travelers would include those visiting families and members of our military forces. Mostly our Manhattan Hudson Yards experience would be leisure travelers. If we were up at full capacity, we would have a significant, we think, positive impact, dropping off people who are there to dine out, shop, go to shows, have fun, and enjoy the beautiful island there. So I think our last slide is to give you a little information about the company's timetable. The idea started in June of 2019. I'm the primary and sole owner or member of the LLC. It's a kind of a family business, but I'm the only one in my family in the business right now. So we have a really strong professional team, some of which are on the call tonight. We hope to start, and this is where I want to probably take a pause, and there is a little bit of a news update I want to give after there's been any questions regarding kind of when we might start. The company that we would be sharing the site with, we know their CEO and founder, and in fact, they have written a letter of support that we'll work together very effectively and carefully there to meet all of the requirements and objectives that the Department of Transportation have and that you have, that we've responded to in the various applications. So happy to answer any questions if you would like.
So thank you, Jeff. So the service is between New York City and Virginia Beach, Virginia?
Yes, sir.
And the frequency?
Initially, the objective would be 4 days a week, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Wednesday.
Mm-hmm. And I saw the letter from Jet saying you would be good, cooperative co-operators on the curbside site. Are your schedules sort of do your schedules overlap, or are they staggered so that there isn't so much, so you're not running into each other to do?
Yeah, they are staggered. Yes, sir.
So you're cooperative in that regard. Okay.
Well, then now to the extent that, anyone grows or changes schedules or has a traffic issue, obviously there would be things that we'd have to work on. But yes, our objective is that during the hour and a half that we would be, we would come and then we would go to an offsite and then come back. That'd be over about an hour to an hour and a half period. They currently are not running at the site at that time.
Sure. And then with some recent applications for bus permits, curbside bus permits such as yours, we've seen a number of operators deploy restrictions on idling, like anti-idling software technology. Do you have any such capacity in your fleet?
I'll let Robert take that one. I think, yes, we do under our system called SOCOM, which is our ELD system. It documents those times. Yes, sir.
Sure, we're familiar with that system. So it's been presented to us before.
Okay.
All right. Christine, and then I'll open it up to the committee members for their questions.
No, I'm fine. Sounds good. You understand where the location is, right? So people wouldn't be stopping further east on the block, right?
Yes, we do. We know there's a park kind of directly behind us, and
Right.
we know that we don't want to be blocking that or anywhere near that park. We'd be right up at the corner.
Right.
And just for the awareness of the committee members and also the public listening, we generally support this location as it is already an established curbside stop. So we're not increasing the number of curbside locations in the area. It would be a co-located stop with a provider that's already operating at the curb. Tina.
Just a quick question, having heard that. It said that there's 100 feet for this bus stop. Isn't that a huge amount of area for a bus that's just sharing the space with another bus?
Was that on the application where you saw that?
Yes.
Well, that is, we were a little confused by the question. Our coach is just 45 feet, and you're exactly right. We pull right up to the corner and be 45 feet. But it's almost a question that we didn't, if you kind of look at what's possible there in that span before there is a entrance to the building, it's an active entryway, which obviously we would not block, to the stop sign. We've estimated it, and we didn't measure it, but we estimated that area as 100 feet. But we would be pulling up, right to the very beginning of it and only using 45 feet of it.
So it's just an imprecise answer on the form. The current stop for Jet is, what is it, 50 feet?
I would think it is. It is. But yeah, the capacity of that space from the stop to the first curb cut is about 100 feet. But, I guess Tina is getting to a point of saying we don't want to have two buses parked there.
Right.
One, right.
Yes, that's our commitment.
Okay.
I noted I'm sorry, just to jump back on this, because Tina, I think it's germane. I noticed on your application, you have a layover location that's identified. It's like 45th and what, like 11th, is that?
Robert,
Yeah, go ahead. It's on 12th in between 45th and 46th. It's that parking lot across the street.
That's the Intrepid.
Oh, got it. Okay.
Yeah, there's a parking lot across from the Intrepid.
Right.
Got it. Okay. Well, that's a good layover.
Well, we really appreciate that you rented the space.
Yeah, absolutely. Where does Jet lay over? In Jersey?
I'm not certain.
we don't know exactly.
Okay.
It's not now.
But that's a good, we're happy with the layover location for sure, because it'll prevent, it'll prevent local traffic. Okay. Any more questions? Did you have any other questions, Tina?
No,
Any
thanks.
more questions from the committee? Okay, do we have a motion?
Chair, I do have one update. I want to make
Sure.
sure, because we want to be completely, clear and honest on everything. As I mentioned, our company has been running for 3 years on and off with the COVID issue. And we were hopeful of being able to run as soon as you all approve us, although we had hoped it would be sometime in July. We're having to kind of claw back on the timing a bit because of COVID, and your all's numbers are up, and we're very cognizant of all of that. And so we're kind of in a pause as a company right now. And so there'll be some of that, some off and some on. It is our objective to try to run the route and as soon as we can. But we have other operating issues right now we're dealing with, and so we are kind of in this temporary pause.
So the goal is to ramp up to the schedule you cited between New York City and Virginia Beach, and to always, no matter during the ramp up, to make sure that your operating schedule is staggered with jet, so we don't have overflow at this site.
I have a question, Dale.
Yeah.
So Jeff, if it doesn't make any difference to us, but I'm wondering whether the DOT, you're going to have to pay a permit and to reserve that space. So it's going to be your decision whether you do that and when do you do that, right? And I do not know what is the policy of DOT as far as, delaying the use of the space or not paying. I guess if you pay, they don't care, right? So that's going to be your call.
Well, I think we have not presented this to the DOT yet. We wanted to get to this step and kind of get guidance. Literally, this just came up, and it has to do with the kind of long-term business plans and opportunities of the company. So we will obviously, yes, ma'am, we will obviously talk to the DOT and get their guidance on that.
Okay.
Right. So, I mean,
I think we can make a motion, can we?
Yeah. I mean, we'll provide our
Support.
guidance and support towards you operating, and you can take it from there as far as when the implementation happens. But
Sure.
is there, based on what we've discussed, a motion would be to support this operator at that location, provided the schedules are staggered with the operator with whom they are co-locating, and clarifying the dimension of the stop itself, so that there's no ambiguity about the length along the curb. Do we have a motion to that effect?
Motion to approve that.
Second.
Do it. And we have a second from Rob. Okay. I'm sorry, did I miss, were there any questions from the public? I don't see any.
Oh, that was my hands up.
Okay, so to the committee, all in favor of this motion?
Yeah.
Aye.
That was an aye. Any opposed? Any P&Es? No. Okay. Thank you, everyone from ROCS. We will
Thank you very much,
our-
guys, while we're up there sometime and show you the coaches and say hello.
Sure, we'd love to do a site visit with you. That'd be
Thanks so
great.
much.
Thank you.
Thank
Okay, on to the next. This is from the DDC. And it's about, this is an update on the pedestrian raft safety improvement projects on 34th Street and 8th Avenue. So we have
Miriam Benjamin and Will Cabezas.
Hi, Miriam. Hi again.
Hi.
Welcome.
Thank you. Okay, good evening, everyone. I am Miriam Benjamin, the Community Construction Liaison for DDC Project ID number HWPEDSF4. And it's a pedestrian safety improvements project at the intersection of West 34th Street and 8th Avenue. Tonight, we are going to be discussing the project updates, utility work progress and delay, the time extension, the benefits of these infrastructure upgrades, the community outreach and notification process for this project, and the project contact. At this moment, the resident engineer for this project, Will Cabezas, will be going over the project updates with you.
Hello, Will.
Good evening, everyone. We're sharing the screen here, as you can see. Just give us a second. So where's the, all right, so we're gonna go over the project updates. Currently, our work hours is Monday through Friday, 8 p.m. to 6 a.m. This is the location on 34th Street and 8th Avenue. Currently, it's 75% of all city work has been completed. The water main and drainage work is completed 100%, and 75% of all utility work has been completed. The pending work, remaining work that for the city, it's the sidewalk, curb, and bus shelters, and resurfacing street signals and street light work. This is a chart showing all the months since 2020 up to May 22. The remaining of the electrical layout work is 80%, and it's 80% of Con Edison manhole work also remaining. Now I'm going to go over delays that we have been experiencing on this project. Usually is the utilities, the aging infrastructure has unexpected weather conditions, and the following: completion of 4 Con Edison manhole structures on 34th Street and 8th Avenue, and on 34th Street and 8th Avenue. I'm sorry, that was 33rd and 8th Avenue, and on 34th Street and 8th Avenue. The relocation of a shallow 6-inch gas main that was found during the trench excavation has these delays have set us back on our completion date. Due to the complex and the nature of this work and the unforeseen utility work, time extension is currently in process for this contract as follows. The original project end date was June 2022, and after the approval of the time extension for this project, the new projected end date will be June 2023. I would like to go over the benefits of infrastructure upgrades. That will be the water main, on the necessary upgrades from a 12-inch to a 20-inch water main will increase water pressure and increase resilience to prevent water main breaks. Stormwater drainage upgrades, install new catch basins and replace existing stormwater inlets. Install new curbs and resurface pavement to improve stormwater flow to the catch basins. Sidewalk upgrades. There will be less congestion in the sidewalk, increase sidewalk space by 35% at the northwest corner. Reduce crossing distance between northwest and southwest corner. 2 new tree pits on bus shelters at the northwest corner as well. We're gonna have roadway upgrades, resurfacing entire intersection to extend service life of the pavement and to reduce potholes and uneven pavement. The new bus pad at the northwest corner will also be installed. ADA compliant pedestrian ramps. We're going to be installing new ADA compliant pedestrian ramps at all 4 corners at 34th Street and 8th Avenue. 2 new ramps will be installed at each corner to improve pedestrian traffic. Utility upgrades. Upgraded all the electrical capacity, new Con Edison electrical manholes. Uh, Now, I would like to have the Community Construction Liaison, Miriam Benjamin, close out the project updates by providing you with an overview of DDC outreach and notification process. Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Will. At this advanced phase of the project, a weekly look ahead bulletin is provided to the affected community members every Friday for the following week's anticipated schedule. So once we get an updated schedule from the contractor, I myself, the community construction liaison, I emailed out a weekly look ahead construction bulletin to all the affected community members every Friday. In case of major community impacts, for example, water service interruptions, curbside parking restrictions, temporary lane closure, etc., I provide you with a 72-hour community advisory notice, followed by a 24-hour prior confirmation or cancellation notice. Pedestrian and emergency vehicle access will be maintained at all times. For further information about this project, or if you would like to be added to my neighborhood network distribution list, I, Miriam Benjamin, the community construction liaison, would be the main point of contact. I can be reached at 609-455-4073 or by email pedrampsf4ccl@gmail.com. This concludes our presentation for tonight. Thank you for your time. Now, do you have any questions or concerns, either for myself or the resident engineer?
Great. Thank you, Miriam. Do we have Christine has her hand up.
Yeah, I have many questions. First of all, can you go back to your description, your first chart, which showed at what time you are working?
Sure, 1 second.
Here. So there is an agreement in this community with DOB, for example, for the hours of work to be from 7 o'clock in the morning to 3 in the afternoon. When did you decide to work from 8 p.m. to 6 a.m.?
I will let the resident engineer, Will Cabezas, answer this question for you, Christine.
Yeah, and Christine, it's Colleen from DOT. I have Jason from our permits division. He can also chime in on that.
Hi, everyone. So the contractor makes applications to DOT, and DOT is the one who makes reviews and makes approvals on the work hours. So we do not determine the work hours. DDC does not determine the work hours. Unfortunately, that question should really go to DOT, and they could answer.
Well, DOT is here, so Colleen, what gives?
Sure. My colleague Jason from our permits office is on the phone. Jason, are you online?
We can't hear him. So Colleen, fundamentally, there has been an agreement between DOT, DOB, and everybody. There was a big task force to say this community cannot take all this work being done at overnight, right? And this was an agreement which was made in, let me go back to my emails. Right, the agreement was made in November 2021.
Yeah, I'm familiar with
Right.
the agreement that we
Right.
had. And
So the city council, DOT, the mayor, CAU, everybody was in agreement.
right.
And we continue to have work from 8 to 6 a.m. in the morning, and it's really not, it's not based on the agreement, and it's not acceptable.
So this is what Jason had emailed me earlier. He said the current working hours, work weeknights, including Friday night, 8 p.m. to 6 a.m., no work Saturday and Sunday nights. All work shall be done in accordance with the attached stipulation sheet. He mentioned that OCMC has no objections to work working proposed by the community board, which is from 7 PM to 3 AM weeknights only.
No, 7 PM to 3 AM. Right.
So we have no objections with that, Christine, and no work Saturday and Sunday nights. However, as previously stated, the request to change the hours must come from DDC in the form of an amend and reissue in the New York City street system. So here's the story. So we don't have any issues with them working from 7 PM to 3 AM. DDC will just have to amend and amend their form, and we will issue the permits to stipulate that.
Okay, so DDC, are you going to do that?
Christina, again, we make applications to DOT. We do not request for hours. We only request that we need to work. And they give us the working hours that they are permitting us to work. I think there's a
So I don't want to have to be a ping pong between DDC and DOT saying the other guy has to do it. This is if we need to have a meeting with the mayor's office to get you guys' heads together so that you can really, I mean, right now what you're trying to do, I understand DDC, you just want to continue to work your big hours because you want to finish the project. But this is not acceptable to us. So I think you should stop the project immediately.
Give me a second. I'm trying to get my the DDC representative on the phone.
Which representative? You are all there.
The engineer in charge of the project, he's from.
Yeah, but he's not going to want to do it, you know, but the key question is, Miriam, is that he has to do it. This is not whether he wants to do it, he has to do it.
Okay, my understanding is that, and I had conversation with Colleen as well a couple of months ago about this. My understanding is that this whole conversation started earlier this year, we had mentioned to Community Board 4 that the existing permits we had from January were going to be expiring on May 1st. And we were DDC was under the impression that when the contractor asked to renew their permits from May 1st, that OCMC would have automatically given them that 7 PM to 3 AM as per the agreement you mentioned. But that was not the case. And we do not have control over those working hours.
Indeed you do. You are DDC and you are in charge and you are paying the contractor and you are accountable to the community. So obviously you are in charge and you are in control. Please stop, put us up around and bouncing us around with those bureaucratic, nonsense, excuse me.
Christine, I got off the phone with the DDC engineer in charge for this project. He wanted to chime in on this this question that you have. What he's saying, what he told me is that he will discuss this matter with the contractor and submit an amendment of the working hours as per the agreement that you stated. But
Okay.
he wanted to make it very clear that currently the project has many challenges with delays, and adding this amendment to the working hours, it's going to reduce the amount of time that we're able to resolve all of
I
the.
understand, but you have residents who cannot sleep. Okay, that's simple. They can't sleep because there is your project, there is another project, there's a third project, there's a fifth project. Okay, and they have been at it for now the last 5 years. So this is, we cannot continue to have projects who are not following the rules.
But remember that we are still going to be working 5 days a week. You're reducing the amount of hours that we're going to be working from 7 PM to 3 AM, correct?
Yes.
Instead of 8 PM to currently 6 AM. So the additional 3 hours from 3 a.m. to 6 a.m. It's really, you're saying it's gonna make a big difference to the sleeping community. And we'll take that in consideration and we will amend the hours. But again, just remember that the project will eventually be delayed even further. And there will be
Yes,
more-
yes, I understand. I
Okay.
understand. I totally understand, but this is one of the constraints that you have to take into account when you do your projects, you know? It's like, and then are you working during the day?
We're not, we're.
So here's the point. We are not working during the day because it's going to inconvenience cars and drivers. So why don't you work during the whole day? And you would be finished very quickly, and you can close half of the street and say, look, work during the day.
It's-
What's the problem with the cars?
To that end, you're coming up upon summer. I think it would be better to switch to day hours rather than to night.
This area is highly populated. There's a lot of.
Yeah, I know. I live there. I
We
live there.
live there. We know. You don't have to tell us, but this is
I
a
literally live on 34th Street. We know
this is
about.
a
We
mental
know about.
set.
There
This
are.
is a mental set that it's better to inconvenience people sleeping than inconvenience cars. We need to start to change this mental set. Start
And
to
it's a mental-
inconveniencing cars. If you want to open the street and make repairs, well, I mean, you know, then cars can't go over it. That's it. That's the way it is.
I'm just going to advocate for it. This is like the last mile of this project, and I understand that you faced some extraordinary delays due to the conditions that you're finding under the street. I'm going to advocate for switch to daylight, switch to daytime hours, bang it out, and get out, rather than extending it into the night hours where you're just like, you know, immiserating a whole community who's trying to get to sleep at night and show up for work during the day.
So anyway,
I mean-
this is our.
I mean, as it is, the, you know, a lot of the traffic is impeded by the local precinct, who seems to like to park their vehicles in a turn lane at 34th Street and in a active traffic lane on 34th on
9th
Ninth
Avenue. That's 9. That's not late.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, we deal with a lot of stuff that obstructs traffic during working hours. And I almost feel like it would be more effective and more practical to get this last mile of work done, banged out during the day, rather than doing it at night.
Yeah.
All right, I'm sure you brought this up during the meeting with DOT, and you know, you guys came up with an agreement of the 7 p.m. to 3 a.m. Monday through Friday. So that's you know, I'm pretty sure DOT will probably not approve during the day working hours on the roadway, especially in this area.
Yeah, and in defense, I mean, of DDC, I mean, it's really difficult for us to allow work in certain areas during the day. That's why work like this have to happen at night.
Aline, I mean, you know, I know what you're
know.
saying, but Dale has a very good point, which is we constantly, right now, there are 2.5 lanes on 9th Avenue, which are used which are blocked by NYPD, right? For their parking convenience. I think it's more important that the same kind of inconvenience can be put on 34th Street.
Yeah,
If it were NYPD cars, everybody would say, oh, okay, we can't do anything. If it was a construction for a building, everybody would say, oh, this is okay, we can do it, right?
Yeah, you and Dale are raising a good point here, because I would imagine that certain work should be done during the day. But again, we're looking at the traffic, and traffic is in that area is so heavy during the day as opposed at night where it's very minimal.
It's fine. They can go to another place. They can go to another place. It's construction. They can go to another place. I don't know why we are so obsessed with not stopping the traffic. You know,
I think the main, Christine, just to jump to the other side, I think the main challenge with our argument is the fact that we're talking about a truck route.
Oh,
no, I mean, no, I think there are ways of doing it, you know, and anyway, I'm not. Now, the second thing is that
If we shifted the work, Colleen, if we wound up shifting this particular work at this particular location during the day, does it obstruct the entire width of the avenue of 34th Street or 8th Avenue?
Yeah, it would.
We're currently taking 2 lanes on 34th Street. So it will only be parking lane because we're working in the middle of the road. So it will be the parking lane and the bus route that, that will be the only lanes at nighttime that people will be able to use. Now during the day, they use all 4 lanes.
No, but we know they are using 4 lanes because they have it. On 9th Avenue for 5 years, we had construction. DDC did construction right in the middle of the avenue, right? Because there was no choice. They had to do it. So once you put in your mind that you have to do it, you have to do it. That's it. And you just you all have decided that, oh my God, it's 34, we can't do it. Well, on 9th Avenue, you did it. So I don't understand the logic whatsoever. But let me move to the next subject. The next subject is, it looks like you are doing a lot of things. When this project was presented to us, it was, we're going to do a ped ramp. Okay. What do we have? Scope creep. Why is everything changing of scope? And nobody came back to us and said, is it okay to do it? Because the only objective of this thing was to do a ped ramp. And that's all we wanted. We didn't want anything else. We didn't want to upgrade the water, the main, the Con Ed. Why is Con Ed doing things here? We are trying to do a ped ramp.
So just to answer that question, Christine, the city work is pedestrian ramps to improve the pedestrian ramp and add an additional bus stop and shelter on 34th Street. Upon us arriving and doing exploratory test pits, we find Con Edison utilities are in the way in the new curbs where we're installing water main, where we're installing the drainage, and
we were not supposed to install water main there. This was not a water main project.
We are replacing the water main. All water mains underneath new bus stops has to be relocated. That's a new DEP standard specification. Water main cannot go underneath bus shelter. So that's why we're replacing water main. And this was in the original contract, replacing water main. So all these utilities, all these city utilities that have to be installed, we have interferences with Con Edison. Therefore, Con Edison has to be relocated in order for us to complete the city work, which is installing the pedestrian ramp. So majority of the time that we have spending on this project has been relocating Con Edison utilities out of the way for the city work.
Why did you have to relocate it out of the way? It was there. It was fine, right?
There's no bus shelter. There's no bus stop on this corner, on the northwest corner. There's the pedestrian ramps are not ADA compliant.
No, I know that, but an ADA ramp doesn't require Con Ed relocation, right?
It's the new location of the curb, since it's being bumped out. If you notice on the drawing that I have,
right,
the new curb is being bumped out to a new location 7 feet into 34th Street. So you're gonna have a bigger sidewalk. Once that happens, all the utility that is along the curb, the new curb, it's in interference.
Okay. Well, I don't understand why you are so late on this project and why you are working at night. And it's mind-boggling. So it's very, very frustrating because you are also impacting the installation of a pedestrian enlargement on 8th Avenue. And so people are waiting for you on that.
I'm going to go to David, Christine. David,
Yeah.
Did you have a question?
Yes, thank you. First of all, I agree with what Christine said. Thank you for bringing up those subjects. And I came in a little late, so I might have missed something. But those metal covers that you have when you're not doing construction, as a cyclist, I would like you to put rubber around them. So when they're down, it's not sharp edge or that cheap cement gravel. So if they're surrounded by rubber, it's just a smoother way of riding. Also, when you are doing construction, especially in the bike lane, you need to put a temporary bike lane in there, with the bollards. I just want to make sure that you're doing that, because a few times that I've ridden, that hasn't been the case. I've had, not on your avenue, on 8th Avenue, but on 9th Avenue, another side.
But just let's talk about this.
Okay, so 8th Avenue, I want to make sure that there's temporary bike lanes and that there's rubber on the, on those metal, plates, I guess you'd call them, because I think a lot of times the contractors try to weasel not to do it because they're cheaper and it takes more effort, but we're putting cyclists and people's lives in jeopardy.
David, to answer that question, I understand your concern. And, let me assure you that our contractor is following the standard specifications when they install the steel plates and they take over a bike lane. I myself been there personally, and they're doing a good job. They're following everything you're saying.
No, we need them to be above the standard, especially since they're running late. That's the standard is like the little gravel, the cheap gravel. I'm talking about putting rubber around them. Since you're running late with us, give us something in the community. The other thing is, while they're doing work, it's a Department of Transportation law that they put temporary bike lane with the bollards, and they haven't been doing
David, have you looked at, is there a detour for the bike lane? Because the bike lane is not adjacent to that.
Isn't this by TD Bank? Where is this by?
No,
Correct.
not at all.
Right by TD Bank. We are
Yeah,
right.
they're by TD Bank and 8th Avenue, so that's where the bike lane is.
Yeah, when we close a lane on 8th Avenue and we're taking over the bike lane, we entirely shift the bike lane into a lane. So we do have a detour for the bike lane.
Okay.
But also the rubber. Make sure you get the rubber, which is above the standard.
David, this is your request, so we got it.
Yes, and thank you. I support what Christine says earlier.
Do we have any more questions from committee members? If not, I see hands up in the public. Howard.
Bringing Howard Miriam over now.
Thank you, Janine. Hello, Howard. Are you with us?
Hello. Hi. Good evening. My name is Howard. I'm the engineer in charge that was just talking to Will Cabezas.
Oh, hello, Howard.
DDC. For some reason, when I joined, I could not unmute myself or show my face. So
I couldn't either. Jason,
right. So I was just telling Will Cabezas that we have no issues with day working hours. It's just a matter of approval from DOT. But for us to request a change in stipulation from 8 p.m. to 6 a.m. to the proposed 7 p.m. to 3 a.m., which is a reduction of 10 hours, which is a further reduction from a current bid, from what was bid originally by the contractor, that will put the city in a lot of liability from the contractor. So cannot
Howard,
was originally bid.
This is Jason from DOT.
Right.
I could change it. So to avoid legal action, can I change it at the extension of the contract?
No, because
the contractor, why not?
Well, actually, that's a good question because because as of June 3rd, the contract will be extended.
So that's when we change it, June 3rd, during the extension, and you put it in the extension.
I guess you could, yeah. You do have a point. Right. I mean, that doesn't guarantee that the contractor will press legal action against the city. But do keep in mind, of course, I told Will this and Will already said it earlier. This is gonna delay the contract even further, and possibly beyond 2023, which nobody is in favor of. Nobody.
Well, we are. We don't care. You have already been at it for such a long time. We don't care. Makes no difference.
Okay. All right. So if that's the
And
case,
so, and by the way, you are just reducing the hours by 2 hours because you are going from 8 to 6. We are shifting it to 7 p.m. So you are gaining an hour there, and you are losing.
so we're losing 2 hours per day, right? Because it's currently
Yes.
8 to 6, which is 10 hours. But if we're going to change it to 7 to 3, that's only 8 hours. So that's going to be a reduction of 2 hours per day.
Yeah.
For an entire week, that's going to be 10 hours. And keep in mind that when we mobilize to the area, we set up for the day, we're going to lose 2 hours. So in reality, 8-hour day, we're only going to have 6-hour working time. And in that 6-hour working time, we're going to need to wait for Con Edison to come in and do their work on their facilities. And we don't know.
I can't account for Con Ed. We all agree that the fact that you have dependency on Con Ed is an issue, but that's part of this total, confused scope of why do we have all these Con Ed issues.
Oh, I mean, we'll explain it really well earlier. Whenever you relocate, whenever you extend the sidewalk.
No, I heard you, but I just said.
Well, that was the question you were asking. I was trying to answer the question you were asking. So that's the reason. Con Edison is unfortunately involved. We have no control over Con Edison's facilities, what they need to do to relocate their facilities. We have no control over that. The only control we have is what we put into the ground that is part of the city's infrastructure. And that has not changed since we started the project, which is in 2019. So everything else that needs to be relocated out of the way just for the city to put what they need to put in is outside of our control. Con Edison is part of that. And if you want to get some answers from them, I suggest pulling them into this meeting, which
I thought that Con Ed was in the meeting, right? No?
We are here.
Oh, good. Abina, how are you?
Good, thank you. Good.
Okay, well, so everybody's blaming you, so tell us.
As indicated earlier, usually when the city has infrastructure to move, we make way or move out of the way of their proposed locations. As we have to move quite a large number of facilities and the structures that support those facilities. So for example, our electric mains, our gas mains, and the structures, the manholes that support those mains, it takes time. It takes a lot of time to perform those movements, to break out and rebuild structures. So that's that's what's taking up the bulk of the time, performing these movements so that we can move out of the way of the water mains, the sewer, as well as the pedram.
So let me ask you a question. When you survey a situation like that, do you establish a schedule for doing those things or not?
No, the schedule varies depending on the type of facility. So yes, we have an established schedule. However, depending on, let's say, for example, there is a primary facility that has to be moved, we have to have a schedule. We can't just take certain mains out of service specifically because of the location. So we have to make accommodations, and those accommodations take a lot of time to schedule internally and then to allow us to perform the work in the field. That those schedules are determined by sometimes the weather, the load capacity that's required for the customers in the area, and any emergencies that may come up during the course of construction, as well as accommodating for facilities that are previously unknown to us.
Okay. And would that help if you could work during the day?
The schedule isn't determined by us. We work according to when the stipulations are given to us by the city.
Who is giving those stipulations?
We're going back to the working hours, Christine.
That's DOT.
DOT.
Okay.
Well, it goes back to the contract. So the working hours currently on the contract are 8 p.m. to 6 a.m. Right? You're working under the contract when you do this, or you pull your own permit?
No, we request the permits to be approved and reviewed by DOT. They're the ones who approve.
Well, then you're I'm DOT, you're DDC.
Okay,
So the question is, does Con Ed pull their own permits or are they working under the DDC stipulations?
they work under our working hours.
Okay,
Correct, because our work is based on the project work. We're working
Okay, so
under-
Jason, if they were coming to you and say, we want to start working at 5 p.m. or 4 p.m. in the afternoon. What about that?
so this is when I was muted and you guys were talking about daytime hours.
Yeah,
They get less work done. They get less work done here during the day. Maybe not in winter, but in summer. And because of the movement of pedestrians, it's not just vehicles. So we're moving heavy machinery around. And stop me if I'm wrong, DDC, but moving the heavy machinery around from place to place, moving the plates around with the influx of pedestrians, not just vehicles, in the area that they're working, everything they do is dangerous. Everything. There isn't anything they do that isn't dangerous. Not a single thing.
Correct. Everything is dangerous during the night or during the day. Correct.
okay.
So when you add the cars and the pedestrians to this situation, there's a hesitation there. And it slows down the job even further.
Of course, we during the day you have more volume of cars, you have more volume of pedestrians crossing. So
I have tried days here. I'm sorry. I've tried days here and during COVID, we only worked days. And
Correct.
towards the end of COVID, they couldn't get anything done during the day. I got phone calls. And we switched back to nights. That's when we switched back to nights.
Okay, you're making a good point. All right, so do we have other people thank you for answering those things. Do you have anybody in the public?
Yeah, it was Michael.
I see Miriam. Is Miriam's hand up for this issue?
It is, but she won't transfer to panelists. I'm gonna allow her to talk, maybe.
Okay.
Miriam, can you hear us?
Yes.
My hand is not up unless I pressed it by accident. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Is there anyone else from the public, Janine?
I had moved over Michael Harachi.
Hello, Michael. Are you with us?
Maybe not.
Hello, Michael. Harachi, are you with us?
No, his hand's down now, I guess. Okay.
So
All right.
let me summarize. You want me to summarize?
Go ahead.
I think we are asking you to change the hours of operation from 7 to 3 as soon as you can, which I understand is at the change of contract in June. And then we're asking you to improve the plates and the joints of the plates so that for the cyclists, if you can. And that's it.
All right.
All right, Christine, sure. We took notes of your request for the plates, and we're going to follow up with the contractor regarding the working hours from 7 p.m. to 3 a.m. Monday to Friday.
And I'm sorry, I know your job is not easy, but it's so frustrating to see those things going on and on and on and on. And so we totally understand this is not an easy job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your
Thank you.
patience.
Thank you for the
Good night,
update.
everyone. Thank you.
Thank you for allowing us to test out our speculations, and we hope this work is completed. No, I'll do haste. Okay, are we moving on?
Yes, we are.
Okay, we're now moving on to.
But did we vote on that? I mean,
do we need a letter? A resolution?
Yeah.
Okay, so to summarize the resolution, Christine summarized the resolution to request.
Yes, I just did, right?
I make the motion.
Motion we approve with the said letter.
And there's a second?
Yeah.
Second.
Okay, committee members, all in favor of this resolution?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any opposed?
No.
Okay, and no peonies. Thank you very much. Thank you to all of the various agencies who weighed in on that. Okay, we're going to go on to item number 3. Our friends at Vornado are going to present on the Greenway improvements at Pier 92, 94. Who do we have from Vornado or their representatives?
Hi, Dale. This is Carol Rosenthal, and I'm a land use attorney at Free Frank, and I'm here representing Vornado. So I'll kick it off.
Sure.
Good evening, co-chairs and committee. We also have with us Frank Bonera, who is Vice President for Development at Vornado, Barry Langer, who's the co-chair of their real estate, co-head of their real estate. And we have, with the Transportation Committee hearing, we've also brought Phil Habib, who is our traffic engineer, and with Habib and Associates, as well as Connor Lacefield from AKRF.
Okay, welcome all.
So pardon?
Welcome all.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I wanted to start by pointing out that there are 2 actions before the community board in connection with the project. The first is a renewal of the existing special permits and authorizations. These were initially granted in 2009, and they provided for the trade show use and other as of right uses in the facility. They also provided for configuration of the waterfront public access areas, taking into account the specific site conditions and structures there. So there's open space at the north of the head house that's linked to Clinton Cove Park, and then it goes all the way down Pier 94 to the end. We're going to be showing you all slides and of this configuration and what's been going on there. That public space is about 25,000 square feet of outdoor public space, and there is a 1,850 square foot indoor space, which you'll also see. As the project's been delayed by a number of factors, beginning with Storm Sandy in 2012, which many of you remember, and ending more recently with COVID, and including an eviction notice from the city of Pier 92 when their piles needed repair. So that is, because of that, we're here for the 3rd renewal. This is our last renewal. And this renewal is for repositioning of the piers and the head house, Pier 94 and the head house, for film and studio use. While Pier 92 is not included as part of the project, we still have the full extent of the open space and for the action. The one other note that I have, which we mentioned before in the Waterfront Committee, is that because it's a renewal action, it's not a de novo, it's not a new action, any changes to the project that we made had to be in substantial compliance with those existing permits. So we thus stayed within those parameters while incorporating sustainability features and continuing to work with HRPT so that this will create public space that works well with the park. And there'll be more discussion for you guys about that too, as well as some new slides that we didn't have with the Waterfront Committee on specific transportation issues and questions that you may have tonight. There's a second action. That action is a review of the project by the Public Design Commission. And in connection with that action, committee board review of the preliminary design elements is also part of what we've come to the community board for, although maybe not so much the jurisdiction of this committee. So thank you for your time, and I think I'm going to turn it over to Frank, who has some slides which will make this more concrete.
Thank you, Carol.
So my name is Frank Benora. I'm the Vice President of Development for Vornado Realty Trust, Development Manager for Pier 94. We were before the WPE committee last week, and we're back again tonight with some new slides, as well as our transportation experts at Blvd and AKRF. So with that, we'll dive right in. For those who don't know us, Vornado is a preeminent owner, manager, and developer of real estate in Manhattan, with extensive experience in public-private partnerships. And the slide you're seeing is the Moynihan Train Hall in the Farley building, completed not too long ago. We also own a number of buildings in CB4, the Farley building, which houses the Moynihan Train Hall, Caldwell Factory, and some recent developments, 512 West 22nd Street, and 61 9th Avenue, which houses the Starbucks Reserve Roastery. Just to familiar everyone with the site, Pier 94, we're bound by Clinton Cove Park to the north of us, and Hudson River Park Trust. We're not part of Hudson River Park Trust proper, but you'll see in the design presentation, we have taken great care in trying to create a seamless transition between our project and Clinton Cove Park. Carol mentioned that Pier 92 is not part of this development proposal. And I think Carol covered the history of the site, so I'm just gonna, of the development rather, I'm just gonna go ahead and skip this slide, if you don't mind. I mean, our proposal really tonight is in collaboration with EDC. We wanted to find a use that would not only create jobs and boost economic activity, but be a viable business plan. And we believe that film and TV studios is a growing area and sector with very high demand. So we're here tonight with this proposal for 212,000 square feet of film and TV studio use. The existing conditions, Pier 94 was built to receive goods that were arriving by boat. And the existing head house today, which is the upper left-hand slide, shows the area facing the West Side Highway. It was basically a series of loading docks for trucks to pull in and accept goods and then go ahead and deliver those goods. It bounds Clinton Cove Park, as mentioned earlier, but what's lacking today is the waterfront and public access area dead ends into the existing head house, so there's no public access to the pier today. And then the slide on the bottom shows the pier shed building, which in its current condition, again, has no waterfront access, and just houses basically a bunch of air handlers for the uses that were housed in this building. So being a neighbor to Clinton Cove Park, we recognized that there were a number of opportunities to not only enhance the park and give back to the community, but were also some obligations that were part of the previous approvals and lease that we had with EDC. Addition of restrooms is one thing that we're going to be providing as part of this development, as well as a community amenity room, shaded areas, additional public space, and a true esplanade that connects to the pier and provides the public with more waterfront access. And here's a view of the proposed design. So Pier 94 is comprised of two components. There's the head house building, which the current head house is proposed to be completely demolished, and this new head house would be built in its place. It would be built at an elevation that would comply with the current flood resiliency requirements. There's then the pier shed building that will remain. It will be a renovation, but again, we will be elevating the occupiable slab of that building to meet the flood resiliency requirements. And as part of the design proposal, we will be providing the things that are lacking today at Clinton Cove Park, such as the public restrooms, 1,850 square feet of community amenity space that could be classrooms, yoga rooms, party rooms, etc. There will be an additional 25,000 square feet of public access area that doesn't exist today, as well as viewing platforms out at the end of the pier that do not exist today. You'll see in the later slides the lengths that we've gone to create a seamless transition of the landscape and the materials. And then we're also going to be improving, which maybe this committee's most interested in, some of the pedestrian crossing and safety measures that are problematic today. And we have some proposals of how we handle that. This next slide is similar, but one thing that I want to emphasize here is the distinction between what is pedestrian public access versus what is vehicular traffic arriving to the site for a specific purpose because you have business at the studio. So the latter is comprised of the black dots and arrows showing people that are coming to the studio for a specific reason. And the magenta colored dots and arrows show the access areas to the public and all the amenities that are going to be provided to the public as part of this proposal. Wayfinding signage, community amenity building, restrooms, continued esplanade, the north apron access to the end of the pier, etc. And then we're going to talk a little bit, well, Philip Habib will speak to it, the relocation of the existing bike path to reduce some traffic conflicts. And then the benefits that come out of that, such as the potential for a city bike station that would grab and go city bikes for the public, either coming to or from the park. This next slide shows what was approved in 2009 on the left. So all the green space represents the public access space. And then you'll notice the slide on the right is virtually identical, and the square footages at the bottom are completely identical. And we've gone to great care in ensuring that in our design proposal. This is a blow up of what was approved back in 2009, which we are committed to delivering today. Pavers, finishes, landscaping, railings that follow the same detailing as Clinton Cove Park, as well as out onto the pier, and then the public space out at the west end of the pier. So let's talk about the traffic impacts. We have AKRF tonight available to talk through this slide. So Chi or Connor, one of you speak to this?
Sure, thanks, Frank. Hi, this is Chi Chan, Transportation Planner from AKRF. As a lead into what Phil was going to talk about in terms of access circulation, just want to summarize what we could be expecting here at the pier with the studio use. This is the work that we did as part of the EAS, and as you can see here, during peak hours, we're expecting about a total of about 400 person trips from the studio use and fewer than 50 vehicle trips. And just put things in context, as everyone knows, the pier has been operating as a trade show facility for a number of years. And we actually studied a trade show event a few years ago. And in comparison, that trade show event, we're generating upwards of about 1,500 person trips an hour going to and from the pier, and over 200 vehicle trips. So in comparison, the studio use is leading to a lot lower activities at the pier, and also in terms of access to circulation, the improvements that were previously considered moving forward with some modifications, and Phil can go further into that.
Thank you, Chi. And the thing that's important to note about this use is that not all people are arriving at the same time. There are different shifts. So the trucks will be arriving at like 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock in the morning. Then the production crew will be arriving, say 7, 8 o'clock. Then the cast, the talent, as well as the production staff, they all come later on, and they leave at different hours. So that's a benefit to having this use. So the next slide speaks to the vehicular circulation plan, and we have Philip Beebon, who could speak to the next several slides.
Okay, hi, Philip here. As you know, right now, the current plan has the bikeway coming along, and that there is a crossing right at the bottom of the cruise terminal ramp. And it's a lot of traffic when the cruise terminal is open, conflicting with the bikeway. And so actually there was there had to be a person physically, manpower, managing that whenever the cruise terminal was open. And so then the bikeway kept going to the south, whereas the pedestrian path had a better path currently. It didn't have to cross that traffic. It went down in front of the site, along the corridor, and then connected back to the walkway, bikeway, just south of Pier 92. So one of the things that evolved in the planning was that how to then redesign it so that that crossing doesn't take place anymore, but the bikeway and the ped paths stay together and proceed south along a new path, and then cross only the cruise terminal service road. And for those who know the cruise terminal service road, they're very, very low volume. It's trucks that service the boats, bring the food and stuff like that. It has nothing to do with passengers and stuff like that. So the volume of traffic is basically almost 2 or 3 vehicles per hour there. So that's basically the plan. And of course, it required a fair amount of geometric changes, as you can see if you compare what's to the top of the page versus what's to the bottom of the page. But in the entry now comes in on the right side, the taxis and the cars that come to the site come in over here. And as AKRF indicated, it's very low, in the range of about 40 or 50 vehicles per hour in the worst hour in the morning, which for those who are experts here, you know, the cycle length of the traffic signal here is about 120-second cycle. So there's about 30 cycles per hour. So maybe about 1 to 2 vehicles per cycle are coming in to the site. It's very, very low volume at all. So one of the benefits of this is it takes the low volume conflict as part of our project and eliminates the big volume or high volume conflict which exists currently on the top of your page. So with respect to that design, I'll go a little bit in more detail on what it physically looks like. Here's the entry where the pedestrians and the bikes come along, and it'll have a lift. There'll be a bumped entry. And as it goes into the site, which is after the pedestrian path, most of the vehicles are either actors, actresses, or employees. So then to drive right in, there is a gate that is a security gate, which will just be open at about 7 o'clock and stay open until like 7 p.m. or 8 p.m. It's not a gate that goes back and forth. And so vehicles will just make the right, yield to the pedestrian, yield to the bikes, yield to the peds, and drive in. As I said, you know, every cycle, 1 to 2 vehicles per traffic cycle. And then the pedestrians and the bikes will continue in the north-south direction with little or no, measurable conflict. So on the next slide is at the exit, the other end, and you can see the peds and the bikes are going to cross back under the ramp and then join the existing bikeway. So as I indicated to you, there will be a future conflict with the trucks going to the cruise terminal right in there. Very few, as you know, and they would be under stock control, and the bikes and the peds would have the free flow control. They're not the stop ones. And then of course there would be also a lift, a bump along here for the vehicle path that would keep going. And just so that you know, as we come out of our driveway, which is on the top of the picture, our drive path here, and we keep going to this arrow, the exit never crosses the bike path or the pedestrian path. So it kind of brings a opportunity to reduce conflicts. And if we had to have a conflict or two, like this one, it's where the volumes are very low, and so the bike will come along under the ramp, and the sight lines are not perfect, but they're not bad. On the next site, you can see the driver of the truck, the fuel truck. They can see all the pedestrians, and they can see the bikes coming along. And there's a little small blind spot, which as we go through the design, we will actually probably make this curve a little tighter on the top and slide it over a little bit to further reduce that slight conflict point. But as the bikes come along from the south, they're going to be pretty visible, and all the pedestrians will also be visible to that vehicle, that commercial vehicle that is headed for the marine terminal food service usually. So that's kind of a design. All of our trucks come in on the service road, as we talked about, and here are our loading docks for the different services that are in the building. And so they come in, they back in, back out, and when they head out, they come out onto the air, never crossing pedestrian paths. So that's kind of a big picture view of how the circulation kept going. And here is a section, I think more important is the one on the bottom, where we're looking at the building is on the left side of the picture. And we have a service road that's about 30 feet wide, where we have trucks and anybody dropping off there. And then we have a landscape buffer, which then is contiguous to the walkway and bikeway that is, we talked about, running along the face of the building. And then in both cases, there are buffers, anchors, and then to the right of there is that service road we talked about with the service vehicles. So it's a fairly sort of straightforward reconfiguration of the space that is now available. And I think that is for this, any other files, any other next, is there another? Yeah, so that's the circulation plan.
Thank you, Philip. So again, we presented last week, but in last week's presentation, we did not have the cellar or parking plan. So one of the things that is important to note, I think I mentioned earlier, is to comply with the flood resiliency, we are elevating the building 8 feet. We have to do that in the Pier shed building, but we've gone ahead one step further. And we're also doing that for a portion of the head house, even though in the head house, it's a different flood zone and we'd only be required to elevate it 4 feet. By elevating a portion of the head house to 8 feet, it basically allows us to take advantage of what would really be a dead zone, a zone just relegated to flooding. And by excavating a foot or two more down, it allows us to put some parking in below the head house outside of the public view. So in the current condition today, the head house is set back a little further, and there are about 100 spaces that sit in the paved area in front of the head house. And those spaces will be relocated to the underside of the building outside of public view, but on the same site, same zoning lot. And this is the main level plan. So this elevation is basically 8 feet up from the design flood elevation plane. The proposal calls for 6 sound stages or studios, approximately 84,000 square feet, and that's what you see here in the red. The blue identifies the entrances to the site, the main entrance being this one here within our property, just off the service lane. And then the light colored blue space out on the pier is post-production space that supports the studio space. And this is really a one-story building with the exception of this green space here, which we've put mechanical and electrical rooms so that they're outside of the flood zone and elevated, as well as some green rooms, dressing rooms, bathrooms, etc. for the talent. And really what you're seeing here in the red and in the light blue is just open to below.
Sorry, the green is like a mezzanine level?
It's a mezzanine, basically. It's not a true second floor. It's mechanical, electrical, and a house support space, dressing rooms, green rooms, etc.
Okay.
And then this slide speaks to the community amenity area. So we have approximately 1,850 square feet of community amenity space, comprised of classroom meeting space, restrooms. In collaboration with Hudson River Park Trust, they requested that we provide a security booth for them to monitor the security of the park, which we've accommodated here. We also have this outdoor porch or stage element where there could be mini concerts or displays or just outdoor seating. And then to the left here, we have additional public access area that houses tables and chairs for people to sit and enjoy the waterfront views. And then the continuation of the esplanade, which connects with the north apron of the pier. And all the finishes that you see off on the right tie into the park, creating a seamless transition. So no one would ever really understand that they would be going from Clinton Cove Park to our property. It would seem all one cohesive design. And here's a rendering view looking to the south of what that looks like. Off to the left, the community amenity building, the outdoor porch, and then some shaded area, this trellis that people could sit and enjoy the waterfront views. And the esplanade that continues now, if you remember the old image in the upper left-hand corner that's blocked today, people will now have access out to the pier. This is a blow up of what that outdoor community stage looks like. And then sustainability, Vornado takes sustainability seriously. So we are striving for LEED Gold certification for this project. We are maximizing on-site renewable energy generation. We're going to have approximately 100,000 square feet plus or minus of photovoltaic panels that'll provide back into the grid with battery storage. And then we'll also be reducing water use through fixtures, hydronics, and native landscaping, as well as careful selection of interior finished materials with low VOCs. So one of the challenges that we had is, when we elevate the occupiable floor of the pier shed building and you're walking out on the pier, we wanted to create an experience that would draw people out to the end of the pier as opposed to walking against a blank wall. So we've come up with this concept of this lenticular signage. So I'll just move forward to the next slide quickly. But so elevating the occupiable slab of the pier shed building 8 feet, rather than just a blank lattice, required to be a breakaway panel to meet the flood resiliency requirement. We're going to turn this into a graphic opportunity and an educational opportunity. So going back one slide, on the outward journey, there'll be different gradients of text and a narrative to draw visitors out to the end of the pier. And then on the return journey, there'll be a different message. And we really want the message to be about the environment, about resiliency. Why is the building elevated? What are the projected flood design elevations 20 years from now? So people really could have an educational experience as they come, to and from the end of the pier. And this is a view of what that could look like. There'll be some benches out there and there'll be opportunities to look at the waterfront. But you'd also have this experience here, which is not only an interesting graphic, but something educational for the public. And this is a view when you're out at the west end of the pier. You'll have views of sunsets, of New Jersey, of the George Washington Bridge, views that you don't have today. And then lastly, the economic benefits and jobs, lots of construction jobs, lots of jobs and economic output during the operational period. And that's pretty much it. So we're happy to take your questions now.
Thank you for the presentation. We're going to focus on the transportation impact since that is our purview. Can you go back to the slide that shows the entry condition with the gate?
This one?
Yes. Okay, so there's a bifold swing gate and a security guard booth that is just past the crosswalk and the pedestrian and bike lanes. Where would the vehicles be stopping to enter that gate?
Okay. Philip, do you want to take that? I know you've given this a lot of thought.
Now, right now, just so that you know, this gate is only closed. The system is closed. It's not like a gate that opens and closes, right? It's like a night fence so the gate's going to be open, and that is really it's a booth for a guard. It's not a gate that the guard checks credentials in. So we anticipate that there will actually be no one stopping here because of those who come here are either going to be employees or potentially actors or actresses. And so it's not that kind of a gate. It's just a booth, which if you wanted moved, we could move it. But it's a booth that would be there unoccupied, probably at night when the gates close. But we agree that there is really a limited amount of queuing area. And that is one of the reasons why this gate is not a gate. It's a security fence. How's that? Sorry. I
see. So what are the anticipated hours of operation when that gate would be open?
It's a typical situation with the studios. They open at 6 o'clock. Everybody comes in early, and sometimes, as you probably know, with studios, they come in, they pack up, and they go shoot, at Wall Street or wherever. And then usually the actual on-site thing starts at around 8 or 8:30. So, but they do come earlier, just when that happens. And so I would say it's going to open at around 6 or 6:30 and close at around 7-ish.
So after 7 PM, you don't anticipate vehicles queuing to get past that gate?
Well, I don't know, and this is going to be an operational thing. And however, I don't think that there is going to be, the studios are really going to be producing or functional. Then the only thing that I think might be happening is maybe overnight deliveries of food for, there are a couple of food dispensing places for the employees and stuff like that, where they come in overnight and deliver food. But that is how we think it'll happen. We'll take your suggestions, by the way, on what.
I just don't want to see any vehicles at any time queuing in the crosswalk or on the bike lanes.
I agree.
They'd have
And
to.
so that should be one of your conditions.
They'd have to.
That should be one of your conditions.
Yeah, they'd have to queue. Where would they queue?
Yeah, there is none. There is none. The only queuing is as the vehicle comes in and turns a right. You see that bump right there. It looks left and right. You go back, please. Go back to that. You go left and right and just make sure that the vehicle sees the pedestrians and the bikes and then really moves forward. So you're correct. The queuing space is, if there is one, is really not a practical queuing on a bikeway or a pedway. That's correct.
Gotcha. All right. I'm sorry. I'm a little lost in this panel.
All right.
Tina, did you have a question? You have your hand up.
Yeah, I actually have 4 questions. Sorry.
Right.
Okay.
On one of the drawings, and frankly, you went rather quickly, it actually looked like it said shared bike path and pedestrian path. And if you compare the existing, is that it? Yes. If you compare the existing conditions to the proposed conditions, it actually looks like we had more pedestrian path in the existing than the proposed. And in parts of the existing, the path actually looks wider than the proposed. In another drawing, in the one you have up, you say it's 8 feet and 15 feet.
Correct.
But the question is the entire perimeter going to have at least 8 feet of pedestrian path and be separated from the bike path?
Well, yes, this is what we have. We're going to have a rubble or a stone rubble space. But if you could go back to the section a bit, yeah. But you could see the section that we had up, yes. There is a bump or cobble where we usually have we don't have a physical barrier. We have a pedestrian running path and a 1 or 2 foot bubble, if you will, where the bikes, when they come close, they are not smooth, and so they're kind of warned about the pedestrian space. So there's about 7 feet of pedestrian space in 1 foot bubble, and on the other side there's about 12, 13 feet of bike space, and another 2 foot buffer on the end. And so together, there is, it's about 33 feet minus 3. So about 30 feet of ped and bike space. And I think that's a bit larger than what's there now, frankly. But it's available. And what we tried to do, and I don't know if you're familiar with it too well, there is a line of trees that exist currently. I wanted to preserve that line of trees and not take them down. And so in order to do that, and I'm getting into the details, and create the pedestrian paths and bike paths, we actually moved the service road. You can see it, moved it over a little bit closer to that ramp that goes up to the cruise terminal, and took out about 4 feet of it. So,
okay, but my question was, I'm sorry, just going back, because I'm personally getting confused. Construction is not my thing. But are you saying that the drawing that compares proposed and existing is not drawn to scale, because quite honestly, if you're showing me this, but if you go to your other one, there is a smaller pedestrian path in the proposed, and it's not separated from the bike path in certain patches. You're saying that
Well,
it's,
if
you're
you
not
go
gonna-
back to that picture, go back one, then to that yellow version, go backwards, back. Yes, this one, right?
You
You
see
can
the
see that
pedestrian-
this is the, yeah, but that's the pedestrian path and the bike path. They're separated. I mean, not separated, but that is a section that has 7 feet for the ped, 1 foot buffer, 15 or so feet for the bike paths and stuff like that. But the detail in the section is really what the detail is. How's that? Versus a picture.
Okay, so where it says shared bike path, pedestrian path, that's going to be separated.
Yes, exactly correct. Pursuant to
Okay.
the section, exactly.
And so the, what looks like above that with the smaller path is not actually indicating the pedestrian path that you'd compare.
It is a pedestrian path, but it should be indicating it. You are correct.
The
That's
peach
the
color,
pedestrian path.
But then that path-
the peach color is just the bikeway.
Okay, but then that path is so much smaller than the current path, is what I'm saying. Is it going to be at least 8 feet then? Because if you compare the existing to the proposed, the
Yes, it's 8
proposed.
feet.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then let's go
It
to my
will.
next question. Sorry. In
That's
terms of trailers, I mean, frankly, I think we have to anticipate that there will be some trailers there if you have all these studios. Where are you anticipating the trailers to go?
Well, what we tried to do is we looked at the one down at the pier, whatever, the one further down, and we created this 30-foot wide travelway, as you can see it. And it allows for the entire length of the project, 600 feet or more, right? A couple of blocks. You'd have to be able to put 10 feet on one side, 9 or 10 on the other side, and have 10 or 11 foot travelway in between, that 30-foot, almost like a 30-foot street in Manhattan. How's that? And so that's what that 30-foot configuration allows. It allows, I'm sure there are going to be other vehicles, not all of the big trucks parked there, but they have that corridor. And if we go back then to that previous slide, which is the one with the pedestrian bike path on it, if you will, the one that we were just chatting about. Yes, this one. You can see how long that 30-foot section is. It goes from there all the way to almost where the loading docks are. And then the section further north is really where the taxi drop-offs and things of that nature would take place. And just for your recognition, those parking spaces on the right are van accessible handicap stalls, the ones on the right at the top end. Because as Vornado indicated, there's a parking garage, because the whole building has been picked up out of the floodplain. So there's this dead zone on there where there's a parking garage, but we need a high headroom for handicap vans. So we're putting them right outside
So
on
on
the
this
right
design,
side.
I'm sorry, where are the trailers going?
Well,
Show me on the
let me see if I could jump in here. Let me go back to this.
No, not there, on the design.
Well, yeah.
I want to see it on the one we were using.
Yeah.
Well,
We don't care about the pretty picture. We want to see the drawing.
What I just want to point out here is that everything related to trucks and circulation is within our property. So it's a very different condition than Chelsea Piers, where the public transverses this service road. This is all separated from the public. So if we go back to the section, I'm not sure that's the image that you want, but what I would point out on the section is there's the property line here. We kept the existing landscaping as a buffer because we think that's a nice thing. And there's an existing knee wall today. There's a not so pretty fence today and Jersey barriers today, but we're going to have a nice wrought iron fence. But this is our property line, and everything happens within our property line and doesn't disturb anything happening in the public way. That's a big distinction from the problem you have in Chelsea Piers.
So it's not in the surface road.
Not in the public service road. It's all within our property, and it shouldn't disturb the public in any way. We went great lengths, and that's really the importance of that early slide that we tried to point out. While we're giving tremendous amenities to the public and access to the pier and to the waterfront, we were conscious of the Chelsea Pier problem, and we didn't want to create those kind of crossover conflicts.
Okay. I'm going to hold my other questions because there are other people waiting.
Okay.
Oh, sorry, I'm going to jump to Gwen. I was on mute for a second. Gwen, do you have a question?
Yes, I do. What are the railings going to look like? Are they going to be all around the whole thing uniformly, or what?
Yeah, they're going to be beautiful wrought iron looking railings. They'll be aluminum, but we're also going to go through great care to buffer them with landscaping. So along this whole stretch, we will either keep the existing line of trees that's there, or if we can't salvage them, we're going to replace them in kind. So it will be a green buffer. There'll be an opening at the entrance that only closes at night. So during normal daytime hours, no one would ever see a gate in this zone. And then I'll try to zoom in a little bit here, but we also jogged the fence back for this reason so that we could landscape.
Well, I was not worried about where it was so much as what it looked like, because in some of the drawings the fence is not uniform through the whole park. And if you have and that's why most of them these days that are next to the water have a vertical pieces of iron or whatever, and rather than horizontal. And I noticed one of the photographs that I saw, they were horizontal, and kids tend to just think, oh, a ladder, and go right up over.
Yeah, no. I don't think I have a good image of it, but it's a vertical picket fence that will be black. It looks
For
like
Frank, she's talking about the handrails along the waterfront.
Yeah.
I believe, Gwen.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Let me see. I thought she was talking about the fence.
We're using the same
Yeah,
rails?
we
as,
are. Yes, it's the same. It's the same railings that exist at Clinton Cove Park. That was one of the stipulations in the past, was that we had to match the park finishes so that it looks like a continuation of the promenade.
Right. So you see an image of it here. I'm sorry, I misunderstood you, but it's the same railing with the lighthouse bollard detail.
Okay. And now another thing is I didn't, and maybe it's not your responsibility for this since there are several entities involved, but it's going to need ladders and also life rings on the parts that are next to the water. And I didn't hear anybody mention that. And a way to get out if you've fallen in.
When I'm not completely understanding where do you need these? Oh, life rafts and stuff.
Life rings. We'll look into that. We hadn't thought of that. We'll look into that. That's a good question. And we'll work. And as Frank said earlier, we've been working with Noreen and her teams at HRPT. So we'll follow up with them on how that's handled elsewhere in the park.
Oh, she's going to say, yeah, you've been talking to Gwen.
Gwen is our
don't get me in trouble with Noreen.
Thanks, Gwen. Tina, do you want to circle back to your questions?
Sure. There was mention in some of the history regarding overflow docking for passenger ships. I assume, even though those letters are old, we still probably do have overflow docking for passenger ships. How are you going to deal with that?
Frank, I'll take that one. So that was always happening at Pier 92. Pier 92 was kind of a flex building. That's the pier south of us here. It always served as kind of, as you call it, overflow cruise operations. And it also served when certain trade shows like the Armory show that were very large needed more space. So Pier 92 was always kind of that flex overflow facility. As Frank mentioned earlier, in 2019, the divers came out of the water and said the piles were unsafe. And so the building has been locked down since then. And any questions you have on Pier 92, I would defer you to EDC, who controls Pier 92 along with 88 and 90 as part of the cruise terminal.
Okay, so it sounds like it's not an issue for 94. And then my other question had to do with the number of people coming in at the same time. There was a slide that said at peak hours, I think you said like 200 some people, but then in another slide, you said employment was 678 plus or something like that. Bottom line is at 6 a.m., do you anticipate, I don't know where this 678 number was arrived at versus the 200 peak, but at 6 a.m., are you anticipating this 678 these employees to show up?
678 is the total population of the building. 260 on this slide is that 260 of the 678 arrive in a peak hour. So the remaining 400 are spread out during other hours during the day. And obviously these are all estimates. This is using the best information that we have from our operating partner, and the traffic demands come out of the DOT tables that AKRF uses for all analysis that you guys I'm sure see all the time from them.
Is that an operating partner for the studio component?
So we have an operating partner for the studio component who runs several million square feet of studios on the West Coast. So that's their expertise is running these stages. And obviously we're the local development partner that knows how to build in New York. And it's a joint venture between the two of us.
Oh, what's the name of the partner?
I am not allowed to say that yet.
Oh, all right.
I'm happy to talk to you offline in a small group and in confidence, but I'm not allowed to say that out loud yet.
Understood. Understood. Christine, did you have questions?
Many. So the first question is, can we go back to the Greenway, the before and after, and the measurements? Well, first the overall Greenway plan here, back, right? So I have two concerns. The first concern is when cars turn, what is going to protect the bikes from turning cars here?
Yeah.
When I say here, I mean at the entrance.
This basically, well, I won't say basically but it's basically a right turn, like almost any intersection in the city.
And we don't like those.
Yeah, so there is a right turn where they yield to the pedestrians and activity going.
They don't. They're going to be coming from a highway, and they are going.
No, they don't come from the highway. They're coming down the service road slowly. You can see they come across and they dipsy-doodle in, but it's not a highway connection. It's a service road right turn. How's that? I don't know if we have an aerial that shows this.
No, I understand. But so we are already on the service road coming along Clinton Cove Park. This is a service road down there.
Yes, that's the service road there. The main line is. Yes, exactly correct.
Okay. So are you going to put like a blinking?
We'll probably do signage and.
No. Are you going to put a blinking yellow arrow there so people stop, or even
I think yes, you can make some suggestions, and that we could definitely add them. We'll definitely do the yield to pedestrian bike signs, and if. Not to distract the driver, but make sure that whatever is. And that's one of the reasons why we did the bump.
We'd like to have a traffic signal of some kind. Okay.
Okay. So some kind of. Okay, we could look at that.
It's a blinking red arrow.
What do you think about the bump, Catherine? What do you think about?
Hold on.
Yeah, do the bump. Okay, keep the bump. All right, that's fine.
Keep in mind, and
because
we can't be talking both at the same time. This doesn't work.
okay, sorry, go ahead.
Okay, so, and then put a yellow or a red arrow or blinking red arrow so people stop and go, you know, something pretty dramatic.
Okay. We'll
And
have to
then-
work with you, but that's fine. Good.
And that second is that this entrance and this booth and all that stuff, that doesn't work. So either you leave it open all the time. Oh, and the other
Yes.
question is, why is it 25 feet wide?
I think it's more of a turning thing, but we could narrow it as well.
Yeah, we
we
should
just want-
narrow it. We should narrow
It's
it.
actually, it's, Christine, if I could jump in for a second, we should all go look at this together because it's the exact location of the existing entry to the existing Pier 94 facility. So we can kind of actually put our eyes on it together. The 25 feet is a lot narrower than it is today. It's significantly narrower. And part of the logic of it,
that doesn't make it right yet, though.
I'm not saying it is, I'm just answering your question. It is narrower than what's there today. And part of the logic of having the security guard out there is that, first off, if the facility is operating late at night, the booth, the gate will remain open. Phil was giving you the anticipated approximate hours of when the facility will run. But so long as the facility is running, the gate will remain open. And the security guard, the purpose of the booth really is for weather. The security guard is intended to also provide, you know, pedestrian crossing protection as we do today when we run trade shows there. So we thought it was important to position someone at that entry, not only to, you know, ensure someone belongs, but really to focus on controlling the crossing of the pathways.
Unless that person stops car at the door, so really the booth should be all the way at the, maybe along the highway, so that you have something to do there, and then you can slow them down. But I don't know why when you are on a pedestrian walkway, you need somebody helping you cross.
Not for helping you cross. It's to protect that person from getting, you know, interfered with by a car. It's a pedestrian control agent like we have all across the Hudson River Park. They have it down at Pier 40. They have it at Chelsea Piers. It's the same function, Christina.
So that person is going to position on the pedestrian crossing the whole time?
That person, if they see a vehicle coming and there is a conflict, if there's someone backed up and in the driveway, that person will be there to make sure that someone doesn't make the right turn.
Back up in the driveway. So that situation shouldn't happen in the first time.
I didn't say back up as in going in reverse. I'm saying if there is vehicles backed up as in stopped in the driveway, the security guard can come out to make sure no one makes a right turn onto the pedestrian path.
I don't get you.
Okay,
it sounds good, but I don't see the situation you're describing. Either you are describing a situation which makes me very, very, very nervous, or it's not a situation at all. So
I don't think it's a situation at all, Christine, but I'm telling you is that we're positioning somebody there that not only can act as a security guard, but also can control if vehicles are stopped from crossing and parking on basically the crossing, is what I'm telling you. It's a staffed entry, Christine, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That person can do more than one thing, is my point.
So I'm not sure. I don't like it. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me unless you feel it explains differently what it is. I don't follow your explanation. So, I mean, I think we should do the 25 feet to get back to my original question. The 25 feet should be smaller. There are only people coming in there, right?
Correct.
They are not going out. Okay.
No, and that's one of the benefits of this one-way conflict. We don't have the exiting traffic or this development does not.
Yeah,
cross
and that's
the Penns
good. That's good. Okay. So look at the number here, the width of, so I think, I don't know. I mean, unless this person is doing something else, if they have a booth, they are going to be sitting there and not doing anything else, in my mind, in my estimation. And then if you don't want to have backup, either your gate is open all the time or somebody, and you don't need somebody to control them. So I still don't understand what this is. And I think there is the risk of people being stopped there, and there is some backup, and that would be very unfortunate. So I'm not sure we have a solution, but I want to raise the issue. Now, you see the on the right side, the existing pathway, it says 10.6, right? And for pedestrian, on the right side, existing 10.6.
Yeah.
You see that? No, it's above that, just above that, here, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So now you go through the pedestrian crossing, and on the other side, we're coming out as 8.
8.
Not 10.6.
Yeah. I think it's a matter of space available, and that the 8 feet is typical for the pedestrian activity that happens here. And instead of paving over the world, to be honest, we're trying to create some landscaping and other.
Well, I'm not sure you need 8 for landscaping. I mean, you could have another 2 feet and then 6 for landscaping. And then if you, and it's the same thing for the bike lane. It starts at 17.6, and when you move to the left, it's now 15.
That's right.
So we have, maybe we can take away from the landscaping below and put back 2 feet there. And then go to the next page. I think there was.
If you look at the section, though, if you could look at the section, so you go back to the section one time. The bikeway, as you could see, is
yeah, it's 15, not 15, it's 13, right?
It's 15 with the buffer. There's a buffer, a cobble buffer, so that it doesn't whack the curve. And the other one's 8, including a kind of a buffer. So, as runners, you don't run along the edge. Your feet are usually a foot or a foot and a half.
Wait. What are you talking about, the bike, or are you talking about the pedestrian?
I'm talking about the bike and the
well, let's talk one at a time, because we can't. My brain cannot function for 2.
That's all right. So it's the wheels of the bike, as an example.
No, let's talk about the walkway. That's what we were talking about. No, it's 8. Okay. But then I have a 1 stone buffer, so it's really 7, right?
Yes, but functionally.
Functionally, it's 7, because my feet cannot be, okay. And on the other side, it's 15, and then 2 feet buffer, so it's really, and then the curb, and I'm not sure what I have on the 15. What's this measurement? It's -2, or it's minus, there is an existing curb?
Which one? There's 2 foot buffer and there's 5, so it's 13 feet.
What is this existing curb?
Oh, that's something that's going to be relocated, right? We're widening the area. And that's one of the reasons why we have to
now
narrow
we have the old and the new on the page. Okay, all right, so this is 13. So go back to that page where we were before. Right?
It's a crossing.
This one. So we're going to go from, right? We're going to go from, where was the measurement? Here. Yeah, we're going to go from 17.6 to 13, and from 10.6 to 7.
Christine, the 17.6 includes the buffers also, so you're not.
It includes the buffers. So you can see it includes what's it called, a catch basin. It's so
well, we'd like to have, that would be good to have a measurement which is apples to apples, so we can see what's going on.
The line is what we're looking at, apples to apples. You see that light line that goes along there? I think that's probably more closely apples to apples. That's all. But just a good point.
Okay, so I think I want to challenge you to get more space on those, because we are right now, we have those discussions with Chelsea Piers where we have exactly those discussions saying, how do we widen? And because it's already built, we really can't get anything done, but you have the luxury of building it. And I think you're going in the right direction, but we need to give it a little more space here. My view. my view. So this is the Greenway. What about the exit? When you had a drawing about the exit?
Yeah, that's the next one down.
Further,
Keep going.
which had some measurement.
Yeah.
Down. Here?
That's one, exactly.
Right. So now I've looked at all the way to the left, and my existing walkway is now 3.3 feet.
But that's the existing.
That's what's the future then?
Yeah, so we could make adjustments there, but once we get back to existing, it's really pretty tight situation. But we could look at that just to see if.
But what's on the other side of this property line? It's your property, right?
You mean the
Everything.
The city's property?
Christine, everything south of where where Frank's hand just was is the existing cruise terminals. That's not our property.
Yeah.
In fact, none of this is our property. This is all outside of our property. It was an
So
obligation.
you can talk to EDC and get us another, 8 foot from there.
Well, it's what's on the other side of the fence at the cruise terminal is that same service road that brings in the shrimp cocktail. But that's not us.
No, but there is a security guard booth there. So
that's the cruise terminal security booth. That's where they make sure that that trucks are not going into the MARSAC zone. That's not ours. That's an existing booth.
One more time. You are negotiating with EDC. This is the ideal time we say we need 5 feet. Right? EDC owns the other thing, and that cruise ship terminal is locked because everything is falling apart, isn't it?
Christine, this bike path in front of the cruise terminal goes all the way down to the Intrepid. This goes a half mile.
I'm talking about the walkway.
The walkway and the bike path are aligned with each other behind the fence. It goes from there south 10 blocks to the Intrepid.
I understand. So we have the opportunity in front of here to do something, because you are going down 7 and then 6.2 and then 3.3. That's not a walkway. It's nothing. So I'm just wondering what it is, what's going on here.
The real takeaway from the slide should be, in our proposal, we're providing an 8-foot walkway, and everything 10 blocks to the south is much, much less. So we've done better than what currently exists to the southwest.
And I think we could, since we are building stuff here, we should be trying to do it the right way. Let's put it this way. Okay.
I guess we can ask. It's not totally within our control, but it's something.
Right, and we will tell EDC that this is what we would like them to do. So let's challenge it a little bit to make it better. Okay.
We go on to Blake's question, Christine, or do you have more?
I have plenty more, but let's go to Blake.
Okay, Blake.
For the presentation. Really excited about this. I think it'll be a huge improvement. I'm familiar with the area just from running through, primarily after dark. And so, to the point about the security, I am happy that that's there, because it can feel somewhat desolate in the area, especially around the overpass. I'm excited about that. And the other point that I wanted to make was just about the stone buffer for the walkers or runners. Now that there's, sort of combining, I guess, the pedestrian and the bike lane. In some areas along the Hudson River Park, the stone is a little bit lower quality, and in some areas it shares space with drainage for the pedestrians. And so, I would just want to make sure that that is, comfortable for running on, and has its own dedicated space that's not necessarily shared with any kind of drainage or other discontinuities in the level. Thanks.
Okay. We haven't put up all the details for that buffer, but that's a good point.
Mm-hmm. Going back to the pedestrian width, can you go to the walkway around the whatever it's called, the pier? Yeah. What is the size of the walkway? the width?
Out on the pier, it's approximately 15 feet. It's
15
It's what
feet
exists
width?
today.
Okay, all right, good.
Yeah.
And
Give or-
then explain to me what is this blue thing, entry ramp here? On the right
Okay.
side.
Yes. So I mentioned earlier, the main entrance is really within our property, within our service road. But there is the potential, we don't have a tenant yet, but there is the potential that stage 6 could be a live audience stage. So if we did that, we wanted to make sure that we had the flexibility for this future tenant to have another means of getting into the property, into the facility. And actually, we've gone to great lengths to, this would have a population of approximately 100 people in the audience. And this is basically a vestibule that would protect them from the elements, will allow them to queue on this ramp, and it fits 100 plus or minus people. So they're not out into the public way, they're protected from the elements. There's also security, located at this entrance as well. So all happens within the facility.
Okay, that sounds good. And then finally, I think the garage, garage. Oh no, the truck. Yeah, well, let's talk about the garage first. I understand that you're going to give up 49 Pier 92, right?
Yeah, it's not part of the development.
Right. But then there are 50 parking spots which belong to Pier 92, right?
It's a combined zoning lot, Christine.
Yeah,
so the total number of parking spaces on the roof of 92, plus all the existing parking spaces in the front of 94, equal in the before and the after condition. In the after, we're taking the spaces that are in the front of the building and sliding them underneath. And there's 15 spaces on the roof of 92 that are going away to allow the roof of 92 to create handicap accessible spaces that it doesn't have right now. So it's net no new parking. In fact, it's hiding the parking that otherwise is out in the front today.
Yeah, I'm not a big advocate of parking, as you know. Can you do, instead of this parking, can you do that as a delivery space? You're going
no,
to get,
it's only 8 feet, right? So this is otherwise is kind of the flood zone underneath the building, and so we're using that space under the building to hide the parking as opposed to just leaving it empty.
And who is going to park there?
Only employees of the building, and it'll only be some small percentage of that, right? So we said earlier we anticipate call it 650 employees, and we have at most 100 parking spaces. We anticipate that certain staff members like production assistants will probably bike up the bikeway. Others will take the M57 from Columbus Circle, and certain producers may actually run shuttle buses over to Columbus Circle, but we're not anticipating that the volume of people going to this is such that they're going to do that, but that's something that a producer may choose to do if they want to.
So the number of employees is how much? The total number?
We're anticipating 650, but that number will go slightly up or maybe dramatically down depending on how many shows are actually shooting at the same time, right? There's 6 stages. All 6 may not be in a filming day. Some may be in a set building day, which is a different load of people than on an actual filming day.
Are you going to install power for electric vehicles?
Yes.
We're doing 2 pieces of that. And that question did come up last week, so thank you for reminding me, Christine. So we've got power for electric vehicles. Obviously, as Frank mentioned earlier, we are covering the roof of the new portion of the project with photovoltaics. That's only going to generate about 10% of the anticipated power of the facility, but it's something that we're excited about. The balance of the power comes from Vornado's purchase of in-state renewable. So all of Vornado's buildings are on 100% in-state renewable today. So the building will be either all renewable or a portion of it coming off the photovoltaics. Then in addition, there was a question last week that came up that was pretty smart, but we had already kind of thought about it, which is the trailers that may be parked in the front of the building will have the equivalent of, you know, shore power. They'll have plugins to the extent that the RVs are being used by, you know, stars, and that comes out of the sidewall of the building.
Okay, so that was not my question exactly. My question was, are you going to have all those 100 location spaces equipped with EV charging?
I don't think it's going to be all 100 initially, Christine, but there will be EV charging there, and the facility, you know, has pretty robust
EV charging.
I don't have an answer for you tonight. That's something we'll look at.
The code requirement is about 22%. So I guess that would be the initial number.
Christine, do you have a desire for more or less? I didn't really hear your question.
And then are you going to have a bike parking inside?
Yes.
I don't see it.
It's within the parking garage area. Pieces of this are dedicated to bike parking.
Okay.
There's a
north end up there.
It's not labeled, but it's there.
How many of those are going to be? 600?
Bill, do you know offhand?
600 for all the employees, right?
I think probably there's going to be a lot of bikes here, more than you would think, because we are building this thing on a bikeway. That's where, so it.
No, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
serious.
yeah.
I mean, people are going to want to use that as well as the bike.
We'll get back to you with that number, but as I mentioned, it is something we're focused on as one of the means of getting here. So we'll get back to you with that number. I don't know that number tonight.
And then my final question is, in your lease, are you going to accept the responsibility for maintaining the piles and the infrastructure under the pier?
So in the existing lease, the piles under the pier are the responsibility of the city to maintain. So, I mean, effectively what we're doing, Christine, is we're changing the use clause, but all the other basic terms of the lease stay the same.
Well, I just want to tell you that every other user on of piers along that side are all responsible for the pier's maintenance. So I think that would make a lot of sense that such a reputable company like Vornado would do that too. And we'd like to ask for that. Shuttle. In the first commitment, there was a landing for a pedestrian bridge to come from the park. Are you going to respect that?
So that was assuming that there was a two-story head house, if I remember correctly, Christine. So we're not building a two-story head house. We have given that some thought, and the area where the bike path was getting relocated in the front, which actually would be the closest to where that bridge potentially would land. There's a vacant space that's kind of created at the foot of the ramp, which we're proposing today is going to be a location for city bikes, but there's about 200 feet there of kind of empty greenery that would be created by the relocating of the bike path that we think is an appropriate landing point for a bridge to the extent that it ever happens.
Okay. All right. And then I'm just going back to my notes of the past. And signage, are you going to respect the illumination discussion we had 10 years ago?
Yeah, in fact, it's less signage than we had 10 years ago. There was, Frank, remind me, there was 7 banners 10 years ago.
Five.
There are 5. We're 4 now. Yeah.
Yeah, so we're reducing it, Christine.
Okay. And then you had also agreed to do chairs and tables and for the amenity.
Yeah, so we've been, as I said a couple of times, and I apologize, Frank and I are both sick tonight. Although Frank's got COVID, so he's worse off than me.
Oh, no.
the public amenity room, we've been spending a lot of time with Noreen and their teams and her teams working out details on that. So, you know, they've made requests of us of, you know, countertops and sinks and storage areas for tables and chairs. And so we're collaborating with them on how to program that so that it's, you know, it's functional.
And including air conditioning, right?
It's air conditioned, yes. It has restrooms and janitor's closets and all that kind of stuff that you would need to actually make it functional and work.
And I have a final question about, can you show me the section somewhere? We had a section with the trucks on the left.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
Yep.
Yeah. So you were saying, I mean, you know, 5 feet of sidewalk here on the left. It's kind of, you know, that would be silly to recreate the problem we have with Chelsea Piers, right? And I know it's not public. I know it's not public.
Yeah.
I get it, but still, I mean, the problem they have at Chelsea Piers, they have those big trucks and they have the steps coming out. Once you have the steps coming out, you can't even walk there. So I think 5 feet of sidewalk it's just not going to work. They all have those steps. You know what I'm talking about, right?
I know what you're talking about. Yeah, in front of the main entry to the building, it's much wider. This is just along the blank, you know.
Yeah, but that's where you are going to have all your trucks. And so I just want to tell you that this 5 feet probably doesn't work for you, nor for anybody else. I'm just,
Phil, you're gonna have to tell me that it works. Christine says it doesn't, right?
I mean, basically, it's what is happening is that this 5 feet is a pedestrian path adjacent to a garage. There is
no, I know, but what I'm telling you is that you are going to have trucks there, and the trucks are putting out their little steps to go up and down, and the little steps take at least 3 feet. So we have the experience of that.
I understand what you're saying, Phil. We got to look at that. She's right. Okay, we got to look at that.
Yeah, you need to think about that, and then show me the section again with the truck. Yeah, because you have 30 feet of service road, and when I divided your 600 feet lengths by 50, the length of the trucks, it gives you 12 trucks. So my view is, you know, you probably don't need 30 feet. You need less. You need 2 lanes, and no more than 2 lanes. One to move and one to park. But
we'll look all that.
That's not. I mean, it's your property, but I think you have space there to deal with that. I'm done. Thank you. Sorry for being so detailed.
No, we know that you are. That's what you're great at, Christine. So we appreciate the feedback tonight. And you had a couple of good comments that I got to go back with Phil on and make sure he's done this right for us.
Right. Okay.
But in summary, this is something we're pretty excited about. We're working pretty hard with EDC. As you can imagine, there's some bureaucracy at the city that we have to still work through to finish this, and we're kind of chipping away at all of our approvals. And as Carol said, you know, the 2 key ones right now are the renewal of the special permit, which, you know, carries with it all of these kind of waterfront details. And the design commission would love to hear your feedback, which is why we're here tonight. So thank you for the time, everybody. We appreciate it.
Jesse, do you have
public comments, right?
I think we have one more hand up from the committee. Is Jesse?
All right, real quick.
Oh, I'm sorry, Jesse.
Throw in, just because as I've had, you know, as these go longer, you have time to look back to the materials and make sure nothing got missed. I may have missed it at the very beginning. I'm very sorry if I did, but I'm looking for plans in terms of lighting, in terms of the path to the bike, you know, to the city bikes. Are we putting more lighting in? Are we expanding? Do we have a lighting plan anywhere? I didn't see it in any of the materials.
Good question.
Yes, let me go back to the EXO view. So we are going to have lighting. We'll have lighting along this facade here, pointing down at the sidewalk. There'll be lighting grazing the banners, and there'll also be lighting along the internal sidewalk along this facade. We are studying the existing light levels along the pedestrian path and whether we need to enhance that. There are some light poles that exist today. They're not functioning, but that is something that we're looking into how we could reactivate those light poles and direct them to the pedestrian path as well as our service lane.
Yeah, I think those are going to have to be reactivated as part of this plan. And actually, I would recommend looking into adding additional lights to cover that crosswalk there on the way to the bike path. You know, we want every possible way to encourage people to use those bikes, to not drive, to free up your parking for other uses if it comes to that later on. So I encourage you to really commit to making sure that that's a well-lit area. Thanks.
That's a good comment.
Thanks, Jesse. I think
Jesse, which ped path are you talking? Which crossing are you talking about?
There's the blue shaded area on the left side of our screen here is where the city bikes are going to go.
Yeah.
And from what was just described to us, they're still studying sort of lights in that area, but I don't even think they've covered the lights directly by the bikes. So we want to make sure that they're looking at that area as well.
Okay.
And then I think we had one hand up from the public. Charlie, did you have a question?
Yeah, I did. I live on 54th Street, so just wanted to ask a couple of questions and give my overall comment, which is, I think, overall, I think this is great. So excited for the additional public amenities and the access to the pier. DeWitt Clinton Park is a vital part of the community, particularly for parents like me. And we just spent all this money adding staircases to DeWitt Clinton, but the staircases lead to the disgusting West Side Highway and the Hustler Club. And wow, it would be really incredible if there was a bridge where you can go from the playground at DeWitt Clinton straight over into Clinton Cove and to the new amenities that you guys are building. So I would want to encourage that pedestrian bridge. That'd be great. And then my question is, 55th Street has a bike lane that heads west. 54th Street has a bike lane that heads east. So when I exit the bike lane with my family, I'm looking to turn onto 54th. And I noticed with the new bike lane, this will now be closer to your building. And could you just describe the way one would exit the bike to try to cross the West Side Highway at 54th? Would you have to go in front of the ramp of the for the cruise ships?
No.
54th. The bike lane is totally, yeah. I would say that the bike lane is not being pushed over as much. So I guess if you wanted to use the crossing at 54th, almost like a pedestrian, it would probably require you to get off the bike and walk down to the crossing, versus, because once the bike lane gets relocated from the, like existing, right, which is the top one, then the crossing is not adjacent to the bike. That's all.
Yeah,
So
I mean,
you
I'm
have
typically getting off my bike and waiting for the red light anyway, right there. So the process would be to get off, walk in a crosswalk in front of the cruise terminal service road and the ramp, and then wait. And there would be is there traffic signaling there for the service road and the ramp, or is it just pedestrian priority?
It's just signage and pedestrian priority.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Charlie. All right.
Bill, we had Jahia also who wanted to speak.
Oh, I'm sorry, I missed that. Yes.
Oh, sorry, I was waiting till everyone on the committee had their questions first.
Oh,
thank you. So I live on 49, so I'm familiar with this area largely. Thank you. It looks like a lot of this will be great improvements. I'll just sort of echo a couple of things that have been said before, maybe starting from the north end. I would just sort of echo like that 25-foot wide crossing there. If cars are only and trucks are only intended to go through there, like not only by the guard booth, but also like the mouth of that entrance should be down to like 12, 15 feet, something like way narrower that really slows vehicles. Yeah, exactly right there. So like it's 25 at the top, but that does not need to be 30 feet wide. So that I'll sort of echo that. And second, sort of like a down further, I really think there should be physical separation between the bike lane and the pedestrian path. It's a big issue sort of south of there where they get combined. So I think there's an opportunity to fix that here and not just have like a foot of stone that sort of separates there. I know there's a desire to sort of keep the trees that are existing, but I think it would be worth swapping those just to keep the separation between the pedestrian and the bike path for the spot where they're adjacent. Maybe if you could sort of go to the next one. I really think that that separation is key, especially as there's more and more sort of people on e-bikes, you know, that are trying to pass. Having the pedestrians be separate is important. One question that I'd love to hear some context on is the service road for the building exits out onto the service road for the marine terminal, and it's sort of drawn as being one way, but that service road for the marine terminal like never has an exit. Like the exits at 48th and 50th are normally closed. So I'm curious, like, how is that intended to work vehicle flow wise when those are closed?
We'd be exiting at 52nd Street, which is lines up with Pier 92 today at the existing traffic light controlled intersection.
There's a gate just south of 92. So 92, these guys could come out at 92.
Could you show us the picture of the exit?
There's a have to go to Google Maps for that.
No, but right there. Do we see that here?
Yeah, you're kind of seeing half of it on the far left side there, Christine.
Right. But do those two things ever merge, or the service road gets into the bikeway, or not?
The service road, as the commenter just said, was it keeps going all the way south in front of 92, 90, 88, but at 52nd Street here, you can leave the service road at the traffic light at 52nd Street and rejoin the West Side Highway. So there's an existing crossing there today for vehicles leaving both 94 and 92. But what was always the focus of that was it's happening at a traffic light controlled intersection where there's signals already today for both the pedestrians, bikers, and the vehicles.
Do we know how wide is that service road?
Yeah, well, I guess my question was more about, like, I was thinking that those gates were normally closed. Would this change sort of when those are open?
Yeah, so the gate at 92nd Street, at Pier 92, which is at 52nd Street, would be open to allow our vehicles to exit. And then, as Phil says, just south of that on the cruise terminal service road is another gate that keeps the vehicles from going south to 90 and 88 to the extent those facilities aren't in operation. And those gates today are controlled by Ports America, which runs the cruise facility for EDC.
Okay, thank you. That was sort of context that I was missing. And I think I'll sort of like also echo that if there's an opportunity to move that barrier at the very sort of south end of this drawing and move it back into the facility, into that sort of dead space, at least for the section where these changes are happening, there's opportunity to sort of make more pedestrian space there, which would be great. And I'll sort of like echo a little bit of what Charlie was just asking about for the pedestrian crosswalk on 52nd Street. It would be really good to create a speed table for that whole pedestrian crosswalk across the service road and the terminal ramp. That area that's sort of designed today, that crossing is very scary as a pedestrian crossing there because you have no indication that drivers that are going to stop. And I think a speed table would help there, even though they do have a stop sign sort of today, it's often not honored. So anything to improve that would be great to see as well. Okay. And thank you overall. Looks great.
Thanks, Jahaya. So do we want to summarize?
No.
Oh, you have more?
What I suggest is we take a vote and we'll put all the comments in the letter and circulate. So in case we forgot something or misstate something, it will be really collectively vouched for.
Very well. We have a motion to that effect.
I make a motion to that effect.
And I see a second from Viren. Okay, committee members, all in favor of such a resolution letter?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any present not eligible? Okay. Thank you very much to all who participated in this discussion. I hope, Barry and Frank, I hope you're both feeling better very soon. And we will, we look forward to following up with you with these discussions and with this important development in our district. Thank you very much.
We appreciate all the time and great feedback tonight. Thanks to everybody.
Thank you.
Great, thanks.
You all.
All right, moving on to the next agenda item, we have HYHK Alliance to discuss the shared street at Hudson Boulevard East. And Bob, are you doing that or Patty?
Hi, Dale.
Patty, I'm here, but Patty's going to do it. But I can answer questions later if you have questions.
Yes, Bob can answer questions. Yep.
Nice to see you both here.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, I think, Janine, do you want to pull up the presentation I shared?
Yeah, let me just pull it up. Give me 1 second.
No problem. All right. Hi, everyone. Nice to see you. This presentation is about the BID shared street concept. We had done sort of a brief of this last week at the Land Use Committee meeting. So if any of you were there, it'll seem familiar. But we wanted to come tonight to talk about this idea as sort of a concept. It's not, sorry, my daughter's right next to me. It's not nothing sort of designed or in any final phase, but this is a concept. So if you go to the first slide, you can see, so this is the design, as envisioned originally of the park, Belle Park. So we look at it as blocks. So blocks 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, starting on 33rd Street, going all the way up to 39th Street. And then the next slide shows what's currently finished and open, which is blocks 1, 2, and 3. This is also showing, the interconnecting streets. So 33rd, 34th, 35th, 36th Street. And then if you go to the next one, you can just see a couple sort of shots of the park. This is block 1. You can see the station at the far edge. Sorry, everyone. If you go to the next slide. This is one of our public art pieces. King Nayani, he was here for about a year and has since left the park. We have another art piece there. Also on block 1, if you go to the next slide. This is more public art on block 2 by the fountains with the secondary station. You can see the overhang in the corner. And the next page is a public event from obviously more than 2 years ago with Javits Center in the background. Okay. And then next slide, we have our playground on block 3, looking very happy. And then the next slide, another shot of block 3. You can see the kiosk in the right corner, which is that orange cylindrical building, and it has restrooms. And if you go to the next slide, you can see we now have a kiosk operator, Parody in the park. So we've been waiting a long time for that. So it's a food concession. They can sell food and drinks, and they'll have mobile carts soon in the park also. So this is just an overview of what we have going on now. If you go to the next slide, this is a timeline from HYDC about the next portions of the park. So block 4 is almost fully complete and about to be open. And then 5 and 6 are in design. So this is, the next sort of complex parts of their design, acquisition, and construction timeline. So we're looking at 2028 as a project closeout. So the final 6 block would hopefully be finished by then. We go to the next slide. So again, here's all 6 blocks. This slide is showing where the streets sort of lay out next to the park. So If you go down to the bottom, 33rd Street sort of caps off the southern portion. And then blocks 1 and 2 both have buildings that go right up to the park line on the west side. But on the east side, there's Hudson Boulevard East. So you can see the middle 2 blocks, 3 and 4 and 5 have, you know, east and west on both sides. And then 6 is streetless. It doesn't have, I know, Christina, I know. Okay. So we see this and we see a great opportunity to expand the park. If not, you know, more planting beds, but make it more pedestrian friendly and more, you know, allowing people and maybe bikes to like transverse the area easier, because this, as it's mapped right now, it's a travel lane and 2 parking lanes. So it's just, it can become a parking lot, and we don't want to see that as the future of our park. So if we go to the next slide, this is sort of a mock-up of what we could have. So the blue and purple are showing shared streets, which is a DOT toolkit option where you eliminate the parking and you reduce cars to 5 miles an hour, but pedestrians are allowed to cross at any point. So we're working right now with DOT on a design for blocks 1 and 2, and you guys will get to see that in full next month. DOT will come with me to present that. But we're coming tonight to sort of share our idea to expand this vision, you know, throughout east and west sides and further north. There is an opportunity sort of right now as we are, Tishman Spire is finalizing block 4 on Hudson Boulevard East, and as HYDC designs block 5 and 6. So we could sort of design this shared street idea into these blocks instead of me coming back years later to add it. So if you go to the next slide, it's just a close-up of what it could look like. This is showing blocks 1 and 2. We'd hope to do a very similar design for 4, 5, and 6. But there's, you know, some other considerations. If we're building it from scratch, maybe it's a permanent shared street, maybe it's a raised shared street, maybe it's, you know, has in-ground plantings. There's lots of sort of different options to play with. So I welcome all the questions from the committee, but this is just, tonight is to share a concept and to sort of get your support, if you're supportive of this, to expand it in the future.
Yeah, as Christine knows, we're going to try and work with HYDC, especially on blocks 5 and part of block 4. That's with Tishman Spire. And we get a little pushback here and there. They told us to go talk to the buildings along. So we have spoken to a number of the buildings along who are open to the idea. So we want to go back to HYDC, but we also want to have support in writing from the community board to say, look, we did all our due diligence. We went around and spoke to everyone. Everyone is for it. So what do you say about us doing this?
All right.
That's what.
Great. Thank you, Patty, and thank you, Bob. Do we have any comments? I mean, as a very close neighbor, I am fully I live on 34th between 9th and 10th. I am fully in support of this proposal. Christine.
Yeah, I want to say I've been a big proponent of this proposal. I mean, you know, especially when you look at the whole flow of the park, the further north you go, the narrower the park is, right? So we could use more space, especially on block 4 and 5, because on block 6 is already planned with no streets on the right or the left. So the idea is to say, why don't we try to do the same thing on 4 and 5, at least as much as we can, right? And do it right off the bat rather than doing it the wrong way and then coming back and doing, you know, have to
retroactively.
So that's the idea. And I think if we could do that, you know, we could have really some exciting shared street and park extension, which are very valuable to, this park is very narrow when you think of it.
Alice, did you have a question or a comment?
I do. I wonder, can you go back one slide where you show all 5 blocks? Yes, right there. kind of small, so my eyes are deceiving me a little bit. In the blocks that's north of 34th Street, where it's 35 and 36, is there going to be a designated pedestrian crosswalk on the middle of the street between 10th and 11th? I can't tell from this image because it's so tiny.
Sorry, what do you mean across the shared street or on 34th Street?
Actually on 35th and 34th, 35th, and 36th, across all those streets where there's that shared pathway. Is there going to be a pedestrian walkway in the middle of the block between 10th and 11th? Like there currently is on 34th Street?
So I'm not sure. I'm not sure I'm understanding your question.
I'm sorry, on 34th Street between 10th and 11th, as you're walking from as you're walking from the south side to the north side, there is a pedestrian walkway in the middle of the block. And I was wondering for like 35th and 36th, which I can now see since the image is enlarged, is that a pedestrian walkway that's going to be in the middle of the block between 10th and 11th? So you don't have to go all the way to 10th Avenue or all the way to 11th Avenue to cross. There's going to be like a red light there for you to cross over?
Let me take that. This is the park is between 10 and 11, right? So the whole park is between 10 and 11, as you can see at every crossing, you have like 2 pedestrian crossing on each side, right? So you have 4 pedestrian crossings in the middle of the block between 10 and 11.
Yes, I see that now. Is there going to be a red light there as well for pedestrians to cross?
I don't know. What did we ask?
So I think on Hudson Boulevard East, lights are all, the hardware is there, but it depends on DOT's analysis of how many cars and pedestrians are crossing there. So we can advocate, but it's not really ultimately up to us. It's up to what DOT deems to be, the appropriate control signal.
We asked that they don't use the red light signal on 33rd because it's not heavily used, and they said no, they're going to use the red light. I think she's talking about doing a connection in between in the middle of the parks across.
No, I don't know.
At the intersections, I think.
I know that this is going in the future, but at some point before 2028, when the whole thing's done, we would like to have a raised side streets. It couldn't happen on 34th because that's where the bus is, but like a different colored street and raised up so that the driver and the person can see it as one park as opposed to just one inlet after another.
Okay, so, but the red light you said is based on the Department of Transportation's decision?
Yeah, they do a study and it hits the parameters. They have to put a light in.
Got it. Thank you.
Thanks, Alice. Tina, did you have a question or your hands up, your hands down?
Yeah, actually, I was going to ask, do we know if these other buildings are going to be commercial or residential? I mean,
which ones? It all depends on where you're talking about.
Where we want the shared streets.
Well, blocks 1 and 2 are all, blocks 1, 2, and 3 are all commercial.
Whoop.
When you get to blocks 4, 5, and 6, east of the park are residential and they're built, all 3 of them. West of the park right now is commercial on 4, 5, and 6.
Some of those developers would like to build them as residential.
Yes, the one on 6 wants to do residential. The ones on 4 and 5 want to do commercial. But the one on 6, he does want to do residential. And I keep telling him to hold on because it's going to happen because block 6 is supposed to be one big playground. And once the city's public design committee signs off on the playground, I think he has a good case to go to city planning and say, look, I can't put a commercial building next to a playground. Let me do a residential.
That's funny.
Right, so it'd be a good idea to put this in place before these other buildings are actually drafted.
We're trying to get them as
absolutely
the ones that are built now are being made temporary. We tried to get them back then, they wouldn't do it. The pandemic has changed the city's view on things, so we're trying to take advantage of that.
Right, so we need to rush this.
Right.
Any more questions from committee members? Or let me look and see if I have hands up in the public. I don't see any more hands up. So I would like
I can make a summary if you want.
Yes.
We essentially we would be supporting building as many shared streets as possible in permanent, as a permanent solution, and as well as extending the park to the sides if possible.
Yeah, I would say it's a special opportunity to create shared streets given the park configuration.
So that's it. That would be the
resolution. That's our resolution we support, and we'd like to see it.
Thank you.
Do we have a second? All right. So committee members, all in favor of such a resolution?
Okay.
Aye.
Opposed? Any present not eligible? Great. Thank you very much for the presentation. I look forward to sharing those streets very soon.
Nice. We'll see you next
Thank
month
you.
for blocks 1 and 2. So bye, guys.
Okay, we have a final, we have a penultimate item on the agenda, which is a request for parking regulation change in front of 301 West 57th Street between 8th and 9th. This is for a loading zone. Who do we have here who is requesting this regulation change? The good people from the Central Park Place condominium.
Yeah, that's Ting Yi.
Ting, hello, Ting Yi. Hello. Can you hear me, Ting Yi?
Can you hear me? Yes. Hi, everyone.
Yes, we can hear you. Welcome.
Hi. Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for having me here to present on behalf of my building fellows. My name is Ting Yi Xu. I'm a board member of Central Park Place condominium. Our building was built in 1988 and is located at one of the busiest corners in Manhattan, which is the northwest corner of 8th Avenue and West 57th Street. The exact address is 301 West 57th Street between 8th and 9th Avenue. And we have 300 units in the building, and many of our longtime residents are small families, seniors, as well as kids. As our city reopens post-pandemic, we have seen increased traffic congestion and danger, especially with more bikes, pedestrians, deliveries for e-commerce orders, as well as the new setup outdoor dining sheds on our side of the street. As a result, we would really like to take this opportunity to request your consideration of a safer neighborhood loading zone in front of our building. And now if I can, maybe Janine can help me with start with my slides.
Oh, we have your slides up.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so current condition current parking rule in front of a building is no parking 8:30 a.m. till 9 a.m. except Sunday. 3-hour commercial vehicle parking Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. 2-hour metered parking Saturday, 9 a.m. until 7 p.m. And we can go to slide 3, next slide. And this is the front of our door. And as you can see how close the new outdoor dining sheds next door to us are to our canopy and the pole. And it also left a more narrow and more dangerous space for us to temporarily load and unload. Next slide, please. And I'll show the photos at slide 5 till 10, but here are some of the points that we'd like to tell you that current condition is no safe access to street from the building, doors to residents, including seniors, kids, and handicapped, to get in front of their own private vehicles and Uber or cabs. extreme difficulties for residents to unload and load their daily groceries, difficulties with moving and move out and deliveries again, and hailing cabs. Double parking in front of the canopy with outdoor dining shed complicates and increases the danger getting in and out of cars. Having heavy congestion at the intersection of 8th Avenue and 57th Street, especially after the more recent traffic lights added in between 8th and 9th Avenue, which I will show you in the slide 12 later. New pizza outdoor dining shed and piled up garbages blocked the unloading area and the street, making it more dangerous and difficult for residents to access to the front door area. Constant messengers and cyclists using the available gaps to pass by with full speed when cars are double parking the area. It is just dangerous and difficult to navigate when trucks are driving and parking around and close to our canopy. That we had a damage on the canopy. I will show also later in slide 15. So now we can go to slide 5 to 10. Sorry guys, this is first time, so I'm a little.
You're doing great.
Thank you. So this is slide 5, and there's the front of our door and canopy. And as you can see with the busy rush hour, it's really congested. And we can go to next slide. Yeah, and then if you see the buses passing by, and here you can see better how much room we may have. On the right side of what you're seeing from the picture, there's the pizza shed that I mean outdoor shed that you saw earlier before. And we can go to next one, please. And we will see the traffic light further, but these are like a delaying because of that traffic lights. And I'm sure everyone is very familiar or aware of what's going on 57th Street. Next slide, please. And that's a more double parking and just stalled on the street. And next one, please. Yeah, this is just another angle to see the space, and we have the ice cream cart as well going there. Next one, please. And then trucks, like a huge trucks. It just creates all the dangers. Next one. And this was our this was our canopy damage, and that is quite costly. So that is yeah, just the example of what happened to our canopy. And next one, please. Okay, as it can, the slide can kind of explain itself, but you can see the new traffic light, the first upper left arrow that showing the delaying of more traffic jam in front of, delaying to our building. And then the second arrow down is just, you see another piling up outdoor dining setting outside the street. And then on the right side, you could see the area of where our canopy is. And next one, please. And so this is, we have all things going on. So we have the piled up garbages with pizza outdoor stores close to all the signs to our front door, and with our 300 unit residents here, it's just like no rooms, almost hardly any safer rooms, and for us to unload our deliveries and move out stuff. Next one, please. So we are basically looking for a more dedicated curb space for our activities, and quick and active loading and unloading for personal vehicles. No trucks in front of the canopy. Delivery vehicles for residential and commercial deliveries, and taxi and for hire vehicle pickup and drop offs. And then we hope to, in order to reduce accidents and amount of delays and some abusive standing behaviors, perhaps. I'm not sure double parking. I mean, I don't know how would make sense, for everyone to get the space. But next one, please, maybe the slide. Yes, but basically, and then also we are just looking for at least 17 feet free parking canopy zone in front of our building doors. So it's clear enough for people to arrive and leave the building safely. And currently our canopy is 16 feet wide. So, and then it was ruined before, so as I showed earlier. And next one, please. So, so finally, in addition to above all, I'd like to just to add in some of the additional points as the Transportation Planning Committee must be very aware of, that 57th Street is one of the busiest cross-town road with commercial buildings, perhaps from Madison Avenue to Broadway. But our block, starting from 8th Avenue to 9th Avenue, is actually all residential buildings, and we really have a especially tough corner with Turnstile, which is the subway stores and down in the basement that they are constantly loading their goods in our corner. So with their deliveries, and our intersection constantly has Con Ed digging the pipeline, blocking the street, and the street becomes only one lane only. And also we have traveled by MTA buses and like M12, M31, M57 with biggest trucks coming cross town to get to the West Side Highway and Lincoln Tunnel. The street is also constantly in competition with the parking spaces with the pizza store and restaurants around, fire emergency trucks speeding by to urgent incidents.
I think we got it.
Yeah, this is so New York City, right?
You have it all there.
Can you close the?
Yes, I'm close. I'm almost.
You have everything we see in the district compounded.
Right. All in all, we just really hope to have a safe unloading zone. I did some research, and I'm not sure if we qualify for DOT's neighborhood loading zone.
Hold on, we're going to tell you. We're going to tell you.
Okay. And then
can you close the?
Okay. Sorry. I didn't realize I can show my face. Wait. I thought. Wait, start video?
Do you realize that if you have a neighborhood loading zone, which probably DOT may accept.
Oh yeah, I don't know if we
listen.
Okay.
They are not. This is not going to resolve your awning problem.
Right.
Because you're going to have a space, and if a trucks come and want to drop off something, they will.
Okay.
So trucks will be able to use that for a very short period of time, as well as private, cars.
Okay. Got you. So I don't know if we have a standard loading zone stools. I don't know. I didn't get a chance to submit the picture, but I did went to research and then see if you could see. Wait, if you can see.
No, tell us.
Okay, like I saw the loading zone on like the stool that they put on Marriott SS House, New York, like a 59th Street.
No, if you are talking about a hotel, it's a hotel loading zone.
Oh, okay, so that's different. Okay,
Right.
gotcha. I see. So we have a written email support from our neighboring building Park Vendome condo on the other side of 57th Street. Their address is 332 to 350.
Yeah, we got it. We got
okay.
it.
Okay. So that's all.
So what do we have people want to ask question or we're good?
We don't have any hand. Oh,
no, Tina has a question.
Tina.
My concern, if we're talking about changing the sign here, just to flush this out, there are at least 5 other residential or 4 other residential buildings on the same side of the block.
Right.
None of them have different parking regulations that I'm aware of. And across the street, the building that wrote the letter in support is also in the same position. What I'm trying to say is your building is not alone. So whatever we come up with here will probably be the ask next month or the month after for by the Westmore or by the Colonnade,
right,
which is also on the block.
Right.
The truth is, there are open restaurants.
Yes.
And there is residential buildings. All I'm saying is what concerns me is changing a building sign in front of one means changing a building sign in front of 5 or 6 others.
That applies the whole.
Tina, I think that when we ask for a neighborhood loading zone, then the Department of Transportation choose where to put it. So we can say around that building, but they are not necessarily going to put it in front of that building.
Okay. Yeah, because there's also.
And maybe you don't want it directly in front of your canopy.
Right.
But we don't have a choice eventually.
Right. Okay. Yeah. That.
Blake, did you have a question or a comment?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I used to live on this block a couple doors down, and I would really support this because I think this building in particular is on that corner that gets a lot of.
The corner is really tough. It's.
Continue. Let us talk for 1 second.
Okay.
When they have like a double parking there, it gets really dangerous. I think because cars turning don't necessarily, know to avoid that. And, it's really just giving up. This sacrifice is only 2 parking spaces. I don't think it's a big deal to give that up.
I agree.
And even if the other buildings wanted it, I don't think that would be, we would obviously have to consider that separately, but I don't think it's, that big of a sacrifice.
Yeah, I think the size of the canopy is 16 or 17 feet. I think a real loading zone would be larger than that, at least 2 spaces.
It would be 40 feet. Probably.
Yeah.
Right.
So instead of thinking of it as directly related to the canopy, we should determine the best location for within a range to site it.
Right. We're good.
I have a question. Is there a parking?
Oh, Pete. Hey, Pete.
Is there a bus stop nearby?
No.
Okay.
Not there.
So should we?
We should support
make a request
and then
to the DOT to cite a neighborhood loading zone and refer to Tingy's building as having especially problematic conditions in front of their building and have them assess the best site for the loading zone.
So no, Alice,
did you have a question?
Not a necessary question, but just absorbent is that on that same corner of her building is also a subway entrance. Is that something we can also utilize to give her clearance of that 22 feet or whatever Christine said, 22, 24 feet?
No, because the subway entrance is on the sidewalk, where the loading zone is on the parking lane.
Okay.
Yeah, I think DOT will we'll assess we'll factor in the location of the subway entrance in citing the loading zone. So,
okay.
Yeah, so I think our resolution is to request of DOT a neighborhood loading zone that factors in the conditions that Tingy has outlined extensively,
right.
And find the right location for it based on their parameters.
Yeah.
Do we have a resolution to that effect?
I make a motion, we move forward with this.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
Aye.
Any opposed? Present not eligible, none. Nobody lives there. Okay, thank you very much for the presentation.
Thank you so much for
and
having me and your time. Thank
And
you.
we'll follow up with the letter.
Thank you. Thank you very much, everyone.
Okay, I'm going to mention we want to wrap this up because it's almost 10, but I just want to mention really quickly to committee members that based on our curbside use survey, we've had Blake did a masterful job of visualizing the data. I think you've all seen it in the Dropbox. I hope it's in the Dropbox, right? The latest iteration?
Yeah, can you bring it up, Janine, or not?
Yeah,
yeah, give me one second.
can you flash us a couple of...
And it's version 2, right?
So I just hope everybody will have, I just want to thank Blake for the visualization because it really helps me to look at data in this manner. And I want to encourage everybody to, to kind of go through we got a good number of responses, and it really helps me. It may help you as well to understand where everybody's at on this issue and where the consensus opinions are at on this issue.
Here it is.
And we're gonna bring it. Christine, what would you say that
next month, right? Next month.
We're gonna put it just put a pin in it for next month's agenda as an agenda item for next month.
Blake, you want to go through it quickly?
Yeah, for sure. So there are two versions actually of the graphs in there. One of them looks at the way that the survey was written, where 1 is the most critical, and the other one looks at it where 5 is the most critical, but they're the equivalent data. And as you recall, we split up the questions into residential streets and then commercial arterials. So there's 2 sets of graphs, as well as split up between all data versus just the community district 4 data based on people who entered their zip codes and just looking at the district's zips. So, the kind of similarities around them were just public transit, pedestrian and bike uses.
You want to move up the slide or not? Oh, here.
Yeah, so this is the key findings around just the public transit, pedestrian, and bike uses. Tended to be the most highly prioritized, both when looking at the residential as well as the commercial arterials. And some of the commonalities among the ones that were lower prioritized were the tour bus stops, NYPD parking, and space for the black cars and taxis on both types of streets. And there also was an open-ended question at the end, just for any other comments. And, I'd say that there were quite polarized comments. There were people that were really strongly in favor of pedestrian uses, as well as those that are very strongly in favor of the need for parking, and in particular, resident parking for folks that live in the neighborhood. So I tried to capture some of that in the verbatim comments at the end. There was also a fair amount of comments about the outdoor dining sheds, primarily against them for taking up the curb space, as well as some sanitation issues, including the dining sheds, but also, trash bags on the streets, as well as some concern about bikes, as well as, bikes on the sidewalk and, maybe bikes not following regulations, and the need for enforcement both across bikes as well as, other uses of the curb. So, as Dale mentioned, good data set. I think it'll be a good discussion next month.
Great. Can we see do we have the graphic, or we don't have that?
Next page.
There we go. Yeah. this is, to me, this is super helpful to see a visual.
So 1.7 means most critical, right, in this case?
Yes. This representation, we have 1 as the most critical. So the ones at the top are the ones that are most prioritized.
Right. Great. Thank you so much for this. And I look
This
forward
is awesome, Blake.
to our
Thank you so
robust
much.
discussion of it next month. And what's that hand up? Is that
Is that?
It's mine, Dale. I just wanted a last comment before we all left. That's all.
Yeah.
Okay.
This will be my last meeting. My 2-year term's over, and it's been a pleasure working with you all for the past few years.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Rob, for your good work.
Hopefully next year I'll be able to reapply. It's just school's getting really intense, and I'm going to be graduating in a while. So,
best of luck to you on that.
Good luck.
I think we have one more hand up in the attendees, Miriam.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm on a meeting. I'm almost over in about 10 minutes.
Hello, Miriam. I think the hand's down. So
yeah, the hand is down.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead, Miriam.
This is a quick question. I know it's
Sure.
been a long meeting. The letter that was written a few months ago to the MTA about the subways and the gates, and there was a concern about whether that would, the efficacy of that and whether that might siphon money from accessibility issues, which is something that we want to keep on the radar. Have they ever answered?
I don't think we've had a response. Have we, Jenny?
Okay.
No, I think that letter went out maybe 1 or 2 months ago. Sometimes it takes a couple months to get it back.
Okay.
I'm glad you asked, Miriam, but we haven't had a response yet. Hopefully we'll get one soon.
Okay, because we have a new head of the Transit Authority, and he has never used the word accessibility. A lot about safety, but not accessibility. And I'm going to testify next week just to keep it on the radar and on the agenda. Okay.
Great. Thank you, Miriam. All right. Do I have a motion to?
Yes.
adjourn?
I have a motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Rob, as your last act. Do we have a second?
Yes.
Second.
All in favor of? Yes. Thanks, everyone.
Good one, y'all.